are live.
Yes, sir.
So I'll let a couple people trickle in before we say much, and if you guys have any socials that you want to retweet it on, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I was about to do that right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let some people
coming
trickle in. Yeah, let some people trickle in before we really get going. It's the pre-show of the Big 3 Draft that's set to kick off here at 8 o'clock. A couple people sharing some videos. If you have any Big 3 prospects trickling in, let us know in the comments. That'd be dope. Good luck to all you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, we got about 15 people in here, so let's just go ahead and
let's get it going, man. Appreciate everybody who's hopping in with us. It's gonna be a fun night.
Yes, sir. Welcome into the Big 3 Draft live stream brought to you by the Fourth Man. Your host Anthony, and of course I got a panel of people with me alongside the best Big 3 count in the universe, Big 3 News, aka Will. We also got Jeff from G League TV, one of the, if not the greatest G League page on Instagram and social media. And we got
Jordan, you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
Yes, we got Jordan Daly from Daily Media and Crown Hoops, who works with a ton of Big 3 guys as well. Appreciate you as well coming on, Jordan.
Thank you. I'm excited. It's about time. It's been a long time coming for this, so I'm excited for all the players to finally hear their names.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we also have a fifth panel member in Dante Green, who will be the co-captain of Killer Threes. He'll join us when the draft actually gets going. Appreciate everyone who's tuning in. We're super stoked for this. Jordan, you put it best. We've been waiting for a long time for this. Will and I have literally been putting out content as much as possible when nothing's been happening. And the day is finally coming. We're going to get to see 20 guys get drafted out of 100 names. It's going to be a wild night. I don't really know who's going to get drafted. In 2019, I felt like there was a lot of sleepers, a lot of, just surprises that we had throughout the draft. And I'm expecting that again tonight. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into the pre-draft show. Let's start here, guys. I know that there's probably a name that everyone has their eye on, and there's probably some names that were expected to be drafted, but who's everyone's most intriguing pick? I'll start with you, Jordan.
Right off the bat, the Ghost Ballers second-round pick, I think, is really up in the air right now. I've been talking to some guys and kind of hearing, and, I know they have a few targets, but right now it's very, very open. It kind of comes down to how the rest of the draft falls. And, compared to the NBA draft, I feel like the Big 3, what makes it so interesting is that we genuinely don't have any idea what's going to happen. Whereas for the NBA, you kind of have an idea of, what teams were targeting other people. But for this, maybe you could name 3 picks right now, but other than that, it's completely open. So I'm very excited to see what they do for their second round pick.
Yeah, a lot of tonight will be a lot of educated guesses based on what captains are tweeting out, or maybe we get a little bit of word from the combine. And Ghost Baller second pick will be interesting, mostly because they have the last pick of the second round after picking in the top 5. So
they're irrelevant.
Yeah, it'll be a long
It goes with their
wait.
brand, though. They love the whole underdog mentality. That's perfect for them. So I love that.
And I love for Ghost Ballers that the whole ghost thing is just catching off with everybody. Like, I felt like Mike started that, and it's just like trickling throughout not only the team, but also like the rest of the Big 3. Jeff, is there anybody on the draft pool that you see that's an intriguing name to you, especially maybe someone who's got G League experience?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton this year. I think from top to bottom, listen, I don't follow the Big 3 as closely as you guys do, but just in terms of names, whether they're NBA names, we're talking about Jordan Hill. We're talking about Deshaun Stevenson. I grew up in Maryland. Deshaun Stevenson is a guy who played for the Wizards, and he had a epic playoff series with LeBron James. There's just so many, and then there's a ton of G League guys I'm interested in seeing as well. Of course, there's KJ McDaniels, who has spent maybe 5 or 6 seasons in the G League as one of the best high flyers in the league. He spent the last 2 years with the Greensboro Storm, and then one that I really want to see get drafted, and I feel like he does have still have NBA potentials, Isaiah Briscoe. Just a pit bull. He played this year with the Iowa Wolves. was a 15, 5-5 type of guy. I guess the big thing with Briscoe has always been his jump shot. It's always been a little bit inconsistent. But in terms of just his overall aggression, I mean, there's no, tougher point guard in the G League this past season than Isaiah. I mean, he's so aggressive at getting to the rim, just a pit bull from top to bottom, especially on the defensive end. And so I'm excited to see where he goes. One guy that's, true and dear to my heart is Mo Charlo. Mo, I know from TBT the last few years, he won a championship with the Golden Eagles. Just the guy who's going to be a workhorse, can step out, hit the three, was a former G League All-Star back in, I think it was 2014. But a guy that really will do a little bit of everything on the court, and a great guy, great teammate. So I'd love to see him get drafted as well. And then, like I said, there's a ton of guys in this draft who are from my area, growing up about 15, 20 minutes away from Washington, D.C. I mean, we have, of course, David Hawkins, who's one of the better Big Three players. And then we have Randy Gill, who's a local street ball guy, SpongeBob Washington, Andrew Washington, who's a local, powerhouse name in the street ball community down here. And then we have Corsley Edwards. I'm trying to think, Devin Sweetney is another guy, a lot of these guys. And also Dante, Dante, who's going to be joining us in a little bit, another guy from the, DC, Baltimore area. And so, yeah, there's a ton of talent this year, and I'm just excited. It's so hard to pick where these guys are going to go in the draft. I mean, kind of like you guys were saying, there's just, going into the NBA draft or the NFL draft, you kind of know, okay, this guy's going to go 1, this guy's going to go 2, but there's so many question marks with the Big Three.
No doubt, and especially because they lowered the age limit this year. There's a good mix of younger players, a good mix of older players. We have former captains in the draft pool. We have completely new guys to the league. Isaiah Briscoe is one name I feel is very interesting too. 25, has NBA experience. I felt like he was always kind of flirting with a triple-double, and I think he'd be really good for this league, someone we talked about in our mock draft last week. Right. But, yeah, you brought up a lot of intriguing names, and, of course, we love Mo. He's been on the show, and Mo's just a great guy.
Yeah, there's actually a couple other that played in the G League that have been, dominant in the past. I mean, Justin Dentman, who in 2017-18 averaged 26 points a game for the Texas Legends, and then this past summer in 2020, he played in TBT, and he was either the first leading scorer or the second leading scorer in all of TBT. I think he averaged 23, 24 points per game, and so we're talking about he's a former league MVP as well. So guys like him, Jeff Ledbetter, a guy who played for the Austin Spurs, won a championship with them. Stephon Hanna, who's a former defensive player of the year in the G League. So yeah, just a ton of names that are being thrown out here that it's hard to say that I wish there weren't only 20 picks, because there's so many names. I'm like, okay, how is this guy deserves to be drafted. That guy deserves to be drafted. It's hard to believe that, 80, 90 of them are going to go unselected today.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I definitely think that, a lot of those guys need to stay ready, because we do see, unfortunately, injuries do happen. And we could see a few of those guys who aren't picked, some honorable mentions maybe joining the league early on. We saw that early last year. But also, too, yeah, I mean, hopefully there's an expansion coming. I know Cube in the live stream, when they were doing the lottery for these picks in the order of the draft, that he's expecting to have six players on each team again. It was just kind of one thing that they had to take a step back from this year, unfortunately. But yeah, it's going to be really hard, especially it's so weird. They had to take a step back from the roster being shortened, but then they made the draft pool way more lethal. So it's such a weird addition to this year's Big Three. But it's going to be tough. 20 guys. Will, I know that we did our mock draft. I know you're going to be super busy tonight, making sure that everyone is updated that's not tuned in to the live stream tonight or not tuned in to the Big3 Draft. But we did our mocks last week. You've had a little bit of time to maybe talk to some players or hear some things. I know that you tweeted out today that Stack is looking at 2 NBA vets, and that was one thing that we had heard, is that he had already had his picks in despite the combine going on. Do you stand by your top 5 still, or are there any changes you want to make last minute before the draft kicks off in about 15 minutes here?
I mean, I'll tell you what, I was definitely shaky when I made the picks. I really just tried to use my best intuition. I talked to a couple guys, and, I feel like I'm going to be doing my best, Adam Schefter impression tonight. It's I still try to talk to some of these guys, figure out what the hell's going on. But I really think, after listening to Thomas Scott the other day, they released that video, and Thomas Scott gives his mock draft. I was like, oh my God, was I spot on? Either Thomas Scott is a huge Fourth Man podcast fan, or I think you and I nailed it. So yeah. I'm not too sure. I have heard we've heard the Trilogy have their picks locked. We heard that mid-combine. They said Trilogy Stack has his 2 guys. Like, the picks are already in. I've also heard, and Anthony, you can confirm this, I've heard that the number 1 pick was made days ago, probably about a week or so ago. So, we kind of all have a feeling about who that's going to be. We haven't heard who. Anthony and I, we both have been pretty out there about who we think it's going to be, but we're going to have to find out. So, as people trickle in, super excited if this is going to be a big night. It's going to be an exciting night, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's a night in the making, like in the 2-year making, really. I mean,
I know.
It's really been a long time. We almost came to a point where we're like, man, are we going to be able to continue doing this? Because first of all, it's only a summer league, and second off, the content was getting sparse as we were going on throughout the year, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with the pandemic and everything. But we're back here. They're going to be able to have the draft live on Triller and Fight TV. And yeah, Will, I think we've been pretty vocal about who our top 2 picks are going to be. So we'll see if those picks come true. We'll see how spot on we are early. We saw a run on big men in 2019. We didn't really pick a lot of big men in our first round mock draft. We did a few. We trickled in a few, but we didn't do a lot. So we'll really see how well we did, after the first 5 picks.
You know what I thought was funny, just looking at the names that are entering the draft this year, is how many Lakers guys from that 2013 to 2016 era there are. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, Nick Young, Jody Meeks, Jordan Hill, Earl Clark, Sean Williams, and I was like, oh my God, all these guys who are good players nonetheless, but they were there for the end of Kobe's career when he was kind of injured, and those are kind of the dog years, you know what I'm saying? I mean, really, half of those guys on those teams are now entering the draft. And then you have Kareem Rush, who was younger when he was playing for the Lakers, but he had always had a cannon. You could always shoot it from 30, just one of the smoothest jump shots. And I still remember being a kid watching Kareem Rush, I think was in his second year at the time, drain 7 threes against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals.
That's right. Yep.
And so
that's right.
It's just so many names. And the cool thing about the Big 3 is that it's so many names I haven't really thought of in a few years until I watched the Big 3 or, now watching the draft. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a lot of these guys, I'm like, oh my God, it just reminds me of an era in basketball that I took for granted. I mean, I was a little younger, didn't know as much about it. You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, all these names that are just kind of being recycled now in the Big 3. It's cool to take a trip down memory lane and kind of reminisce about who these guys used to be in their primes and to see also what they still have to offer.
I'm glad you brought up that Laker team one and then brought up Kareem Rush, because I think something that's very interesting about the Big 3 draft is that connections and past relationships from playing on a team go a long way.
Right.
Really, I mean, whether it's you guys played with each other in the league, or you guys played with each other in the Big 3, or you have a brother in the league, you have a cousin in the league. I think those connections go a long way, because in a 3-on-3 setting, especially with a 5-man roster, chemistry is everything. And you got to be able to nail that down pretty early on. There's not a long spring training kind of deal. Yeah, that was a good segue. Not spring training, I apologize. There's not a long preseason going in and getting ready and then kind of getting familiar with the guys and what's their tendencies and tactics. So I think that's really important, more so in the Big 3 draft than any other draft. Right. And Jordan, you have some connections with a couple of Big 3 guys here. You have one guy who's a co-captain, one guy who's going to be in the draft pool. You're working with a ton of guys, really, but those are the 2 main ones that I know that you work pretty closely with. What's been the word with them?
You hit the nail on the head with how important relationships are. And I think, the enemies proved that this offseason with, some of the moves they made and who they picked as their captains, leaving someone notably off that list of captains. It just shows how much relationships truly mean. And if the enemies go the way I think, we're all thinking they're going to go with the first pick, that even proves that point even more. So I completely agree with that. But one thing I find really interesting with this draft specifically is that Ice Cube at one of the combines in one of his interviews said that the way he sees the Big 3 going is he wants to have a lot of homegrown talent. He wants to have a lot of people coming out of this league where people they came from the big three. You know, they used to be a big three guy. So that means they're going to be pushing a lot of focus on younger players. But talking to people that have played in the big three, they have said that the big three is unlike any league they have ever played in before because it's literally street ball. So it is really hard to take someone that hasn't played in the big three before because there's going to be a huge learning curve from them. So I think in that aspect, people that haven't played may be at a disadvantage, especially when there's very few roster spots available this year. So I think that's something we may have to consider. We may see very talented guys not get drafted just for the fact that they haven't played in the big three before and they're not used to that level of physicality. So that's something I'm keeping my eye on as well. So it's up in the air, man. I know of a couple picks. I know a couple teams that, you know, have their eyes set on one guy in the first round, but from what I've talked to, the second round is just a lot of people have no idea.
Going to be surprising. Yeah, it's interesting because every captain's got a different mindset. We know Stacks looks like he's going with some bets. It doesn't matter. It could not matter if they played in the big three or not. It just could be guys that have played in the league. He wants some experience. But I think there are some guys that are taking that youth movement a little bit, Enemies being one of them. Obviously, they have probably the youngest co-captain pairing in all of the big three with Perry Jones at 29, Elijah Stewart at 25. So we'll kind of see early on, you know, something Will and I talked about. I know I mentioned that big men were really coveted during the 2019 run in the first round. That could change a lot, mostly because there's not 3 rounds. And I think, too, the biggest difference is that there's a lot of co-captains this year that are a lot of teams that have their captain set where they already have a big as one of their co-captains if it's not actually their player captain. So I think it's just going to be kind of a good mix of some experienced guys, maybe some shots and some young guys. But I do think that we'll see a lot of shots more so in the second round than we do the first round. I think we're going to have to see some solidified players, whether it's big three experience or, you know, recently coming out of the NBA or playing overseas somewhere. So
Anthony, you said something that just kind of blew my mind right now. You said that Perry Jones is only 29 years old. It's crazy to me because I remember Perry Jones when he was at Baylor, right? And it's so weird the way that sports works where, you know, you're totally relevant, whether, you know, if you're making deep runs in college in the tournament and then maybe you get to the NBA. And then for, you know, if you go overseas, you're still super successful, but you're out of the public eye for, you know, 3-4 years, and all of a sudden people start thinking you're 35 years old, you know?
Right.
Like, if you would ask me how old Perry Jones was, I probably would have said he's got to be like 33 right now, you know? The fact that he's still in his 20s and is still, you know, at an age where you know, he could probably at his age make some type of comeback to whether it's, you know, playing in the G League again or making an attempt at playing in the NBA again. You know what I'm saying? He's still at an age where he's really, you know, kind of young and has a lot of good years left in his career. But I always think how crazy that is, you know, when I think about a guy, and I haven't thought about him in 2-3 years, and we see it in the NBA too, where, you know, they get drafted when they're 18 years old, 19 years old, and then they warm the bench for like 3 years, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that guy's he's tarnished goods now. It's like, whoa, he's 22, you know?
Right.
And but yeah, when you said that, I was like, wait, what? 29? You know, it's just hard to believe sometimes.
If you actually go through the draft pool, I feel like there's a lot of guys that it feels like that.
It does, yeah, it does.
Briscoe's one of them. I feel like Isaiah Briscoe, who's been in the league and then playing in the G League for a little while, I feel like he came in. I mean, I can't believe he's only 25 because it feels like he came in a long time ago, but he was so young. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of guys that start young and they are kind of forgotten about, out of sight, out of mind. And it's like they gain 3 years because we haven't seen them.
Right. It's like whatever actual age they are, we always put 3 or 4 years on there, you know? But
yeah.
And another guy that reminds me and he falls in that same category is Jeremy Pargo. You know, Jeremy, another TBT guy, another G League guy. It's crazy. Like he played in the league back in maybe it was like 2012, 2013, you know, and then played 7-6 years overseas, right? Came back to the G League for 2 seasons. And when he came back, like I said, he was out of sight, out of mind for 6 years, you know? And I was like, wow, how old is this guy now? But he was, you know, maybe 30 years old only. And then he came back and 7 years after he had last played in the NBA, gets another call up from the Warriors, you know? And at age 31, 32, wherever old he is. And it was just a crazy story, you know, a guy that I kind of like lost track of a little bit. But it's really cool how these guys kind of revive themselves. A lot of these American fans don't see them play overseas, and so it's easy to just forget. And it's easy for the newer crop of players to kind of just creep into your mind and overshadow those other guys, But so I love how the Big Three, G League, TBT, whatever it is, gives these guys a chance to kind of reconnect with their American fans.
No doubt. Yeah. Gives them opportunity to play. Stateside gives them opportunity to play, maybe, especially the Big Three, because you get to play at a little bit of an older age. So a lot of these guys have mentioned like they get to play in front of their kids for the first time. It's not being overseas. Right. So it's a really cool experience. I think it's a cool platform and part of the reason we love it so much. But we'll see, if any guys, I feel like the Big Three does have a little bit of homegrown talent. David Hawkins, rest in peace, Donte Greene. I feel like he was one that was really becoming a prominent name. Andre Owen. So we'll see if they continue to add guys that can continue to solidify themselves in the Big Three, make a name for themselves in the Big Three, whatever the case may be. I thought it was interesting you pointed out Perry Jones because I feel like there's a lot of guys from Baylor and this draft pool. I mean,
there's a ton.
Isaiah Austin and Corey Jefferson are the ones that kind of come to mind first, but it feels like there's a lot of Baylor love in here coming off, a national championship, their school. So now you're going to represent their school in the Big Three, and who knows, maybe we'll see a couple of them play together.
Yeah, I would love to see Corey and Isaiah team up again. Isaiah should have been a lottery pick, if not a lottery pick, then a first rounder a few years ago, and so, I've seen him play live a few years in TBT. I mean, he is all of 7'1", like he looks like Kevin Durant. He's got a Kevin Durant frame, averaged like 20 and 10 this year in the Dominican Republic. I mean, just a guy that can pretty much do everything on the court, especially defensively. I mean, he impacts the game so well, moves his feet, can block shots. I would love to see him get another chance. And, it's crazy. Like, he never got cleared to play in the NBA again, right? Is that the reason why?
I think he's medically banned from the NBA still.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Which I didn't know that until recently, kind of doing my research beforehand. I was like, oh, wow, that's the reason he's not back in the NBA. I don't know if you can ever – I guess fight against that clearance and once again be reinstated or not. That'd be interesting to know. But if not, the Big Three is definitely a good platform for him if he's not trying to play constantly overseas.
For sure.
What I find funny that one of you guys said is that you're like, he's only 30 years, only 29. I feel like the Big Three is the only league in the world where you can say, oh, he's only 30. I find that so funny.
That's so true. Yeah.
Well, 30, you're a rookie, and at 30 years old, you're a kid in TBT. In the Big Three.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
In the NBA,
I'd kill for a 30-year-old in the Big Three. If a Big Three team drafts a 30-year-old, I'm like, wow, they're going young.
Right.
If like my NBA team is a 30,
movement.
I'm like, what is this guy bringing to the table?
Right.
Well,
you were talking about New Williams, right?
Yeah.
And
he might be the youngest guy in this pool. I was just thinking about who the youngest guy is. He might be
how old is he? Like 23, maybe?
He's got to be. I mean, he's fresh out of Fresno State. Is he not? I mean,
he
a couple years ago.
Last year.
So 96. So, or he was born in 96. So yeah, he's got to be about 25.
I'm
25.
98. I'm 23. So yeah, 25.
Yeah, but 25 in the Big Three. I mean, you're a toddler.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. Like some of these guys could be like an uncle to him. Half of his teammates could be his uncle. I mean, how old is Tyrese Thomas now? Like, he's got to be pushing 35? Oh, he's 34. Okay, Thomas.
Well, you guys want to know something funny? That on Three-Headed Monsters, there's a player who's actually older than their coach. Mahmoud Abdul Rauf is just a few months older than Gary Payton. How wild is that?
I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
Well, how old is he?
They're both 52. I think it's just months apart.
That's crazy.
Right. And I will say the draft is about to get going. Got a little preview coming for it. You can kind of hear it in the background over here. I'll turn it down. Get our guy Dante in here. He's kind of just chilling, relaxing. He's got his team set. They're running back the same team outside of Stack. Trying to make another run at the Big 3 championship here.
Oh, they just did Mike Taylor dirty on that.
Oh, did they show
every
the
single Big 3 promo? They show him getting his ankles taken.
I know.
They
never
never
show the play after. Jordan.
Yeah,
that's what I
show
want
the
to
play
see.
after.
Yes, let's go. Show the play after. But they won't. It's okay.
I'm interested to see how many Big 3 veterans get another shot at this because sometimes people like the shiny new toy, which is something we talked about in our mock draft too. Sometimes people like the shiny new toy where it's like, ooh, haven't seen him really. Like he could be a good addition in this 3-on-3 setting. And they forget about the people that have actually done really well already in the league and have showed that they can play and they can contribute and add value. So interested to see how many go. I think Will and I think that at least like 3 or 4 are probably going to go. But
well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Anthony. When we did our mock draft, we really, if that's one thing we were lacking, it was probably big 3 vets. And a lot of guys, and unfortunately, we've come to know and love. So I feel like, the 3rd round would have been crucial for them because I feel like, it's going to be interesting to see, do teams take the guaranteed thing? I'm stuck between, are we going to see a ton of big 3 vets? Because guys are like, I don't have that many picks, so I got to take what I know that works. Or if guys are like, I'm going to gamble because I only have 2 picks. I'm just going to go, total unknown and go in and hope that this guy could just break out and be a star because there is multiple guys in this draft that has star potential, has MVP potential, and that's just how it is with the Big 3 combine. I don't know, man. We're gonna see. I mean, David Hawkins is just one.
He went from MVP candidate, co-captain, and now back into the draft pool, potential top 5 picks. If whoever gets him, I think is going to be very lethal. They're showing Ice Cube right now. He's talking to the host of the show or the draft, who I can't tell who it is. But it looks like Frank Nitty's there, Swaggy P's there, Michael Cooper's there. Interesting name. Swaggy looks swaggy, of course. Frank Nitty might be challenging him for that swaggiest player.
He's got the Red Sox hat on, so he's already like ahead in my book. So
fair enough. I don't know if I can agree with that, but
you guys brought up a good point about drafting risks versus secured picks. You got guys that are just going to work out. I feel like young guys can bring a level of energy that the older crowd probably can't bring. Athleticism, same with that. But like we were talking about earlier, with only 2 spots on that team, I feel like they're going to go with the safer pick just because, like, if one of those picks doesn't work out, that could really hurt them, especially if there's an injury down the road. So I feel like we may see a lot of safer picks this year.
Yeah, you're right.
Especially in that first round. Especially in that first round. I think we will. I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm a little surprised that it's starting on time. I thought there was going to be some gimmicks or going to have some kind of artist playing in between. I don't know. I thought there was going to be a little bit more leading up to it, but it looks like they're getting right into it.
I didn't know what to expect with Triller.
Yeah, I didn't either. I mean, completely new platform.
I thought there was going to be a concert beforehand, honestly.
I thought there were
Justin Bieber might have popped out.
God.
Yeah, how Triller, they if they do a boxing event, they got 2 or 3 performers before the actual event starts.
Yeah. That Jake Paul fight was ridiculous. I was like, did we miss it? Like, I don't know what was going on. Like,
you're talking about the Nate Robinson one?
Oh, the Nate Robinson one was the Nate Robinson one. I feel like at least had like some structure to it. Like they were like fight concert. This was just like comedy skit, arm wrestling contest, and then something else. And I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Looking at Ice Cube on this, he's on the platform right now and speaking, is that Ice Cube has worn so many hats in his career, right? Rapper, actor, now Big 3 commissioner. It's funny, like if someone were to be like to ask me who is Ice Cube, I'd be like, oh, Ice Cube, the Big 3 commissioner, right? But he's worn so many different hats. It's kind of weird that we know him for that. I mean, because we're invested in the basketball world, Whereas there's millions of other people that'd be like, oh, Ice Cube, mean the rapper? Oh, Ice Cube, mean the actor? But if you asked us, we'd be like, oh, Ice Cube, commissioner of the Big 3. You know what I'm saying? It shows how diverse he is. I mean, it's crazy.
No, he does rock the Big 3 hat a lot.
Yeah.
Ever since he's been the co-founder there. So it feels like maybe the newer generation, that's what they're going to know him for almost.
Right.
He's always wearing something. It's either the hat or the T-shirt.
Yeah, 100%. Right now they're showing a triplet season review back in 2019 when they won the chip.
Triplets that doesn't have any draft picks.
No draft picks, but got to remind everybody who the champs are, apparently.
That's true.
This is not, I don't feel like it's just a draft, it's kind of also get people ready, get fans that weren't fans in 2019 ready and kind of show them, this is what was happening last time we left off. This is where we're picking up at, and the draft is kind of that restarting point almost.
Jordan, I want to
guys-
ask you this. Oh, wow.
That's awkward. That's
Well,
awkward.
I wanted just to ask you, just as we're looking at triplets, I see a ton of Chris Johnson highlights. How excited are Ghost Ballers for him? I mean,
Have
he
you
has been
guys-
killing it overseas.
Yeah. Have you guys seen what he's
Crushing
been
it.
doing overseas?
Absolutely crushing it.
He pulled off a 360 dunk in game the other night. Like, he is outstanding. I think he's one of the most versatile guys in the Big Three. I truly think this is his year where he's going to make a big name for himself. He has that opportunity with the squad. I feel like the Ghost Ballers are extremely underlooked most of the time. So I think he's really going to have a chance to kind of pop off. He's a great player. You know, talking with Mike Taylor has nothing but amazing things to say about Chris Johnson. You know, they've all been talking. I cannot wait to see them all hit the floor together. And I think Chris Johnson's going to be a huge part of that.
Kind of an interesting panel they have on their end. So they have Lisa Leslie, who's coming in via Zoom, no picks tonight for her team.
No picks.
Frank Nettie, who's there, also no picks. And then they got Enemies captain, Swaggy P, who's like kind of for the
Number
first
one
time
pick.
representing the Big Three, number one pick. And then they got Michael Cooper there. So he's the only coach that's there. And they'll be picking 10th and 4th in the second round. So interesting little panel they have going together. Sorry for the delay, guys. Trying to get Dante in here, working on that.
I kind of wanted to ask you guys a quick question. You guys obviously
Yeah.
know the Big Three, probably the best out of any of us. Do you think, you know, the teams that don't get draft picks are kind of at a disadvantage here, whereas teams that, yeah, they weren't the champions, but, you know, now they have time to reassess what worked, what didn't work, and draft accordingly to fix those issues where, you know, if the winning teams had any issues last year, they can't really do anything about it, and they just got to roll with it again.
I mean, I think the biggest disadvantage was probably this offseason from Killer Threes, just because, you know, historically the runner-up got one draft pick and the championship got no draft picks, which I kind of like because it's kind of like, all right, like you were going to run it back. Like, you know, you were the example of what a successful Big Three team is. Now it's all up to us to all, you know, build to try and beat you. So I do kind of like that aspect. But for Killer Threes, you know, historically they would have gotten a draft pick. Then they cut the roster sizes to 5. They get rid of the third round where their pick would have been. And now, you know, they're forced to run it back with the same team that was very good, but didn't get it done in the championship.
Let's add Dante into this conversation.
Here we go.
I think it'll be
And now a
interesting.
perfect man to talk about Killer Threes.
What's good, Dante? Appreciate you joining the Big Three live stream here. How you feeling, bro?
Oh, feeling good, man. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on? What's going
Dante?
on?
Just talking. We're watching the beginning of the Big Three draft here. They got Lisa Leslie talking little season review for triplets. Sure, you'd rather be talking about Killer Threes. We were just talking about how do we feel like there's any kind of disadvantage when Killer Threes and triplets not having picks, whereas other teams do. What's kind of your outlook? Because I feel like with some Big Three teams, there is kind of a culture aspect, a team bonding aspect. You guys got the chemistry already down. What's kind of your outlook on that situation?
Well, you know, we just have guys that, you know, have been in the league. You know, myself with just having 1 year underneath my belt, but Josh being in the league for 2 years and him being the captain and, you know, my Eddie and Frank and CJ, we kind of like know the league. And, you know, last year with us being rookies in the league and even still making it to the championship was huge for us. We came up short, you know, didn't get a chance to win it, but we, you know, we feel confident this year that we kind of know the ins and the outs and you know, the few losses that we did have last year, I think we could take advantage of that and, you know, have that experience going into this year. And even with the whole year layoff, I think, you know, guys are focused and ready and, you know, we're hungry as ever.
Yes, sir. And I think, you know, you guys, first game, really, you talk about you guys selves being as like, you know, quote unquote rookies. Guys played without Stack being the captain there because of injury. He had that knee injury early on. And you guys came out, had that really tight game against, I believe it was Tri-State, if not Trilogy. You guys end up winning like 54-52. You hit the game winner there. Obviously, there was some miscues when it came to the jersey names and everything. But y'all were able to already go ahead and kind of experience that. And I felt like, you know, you guys had a lot of chemistry like within the team, if that makes sense. So like I felt like you and CJ had a really good connection. I felt like Frank and Stack had a really good connection. obviously the team as a whole had a really good connection as well, but I felt like there was some good chemistry building in between. What do you think about last year's team, and how do you feel like this year's going to go? Or do you know? Are you still kind of waiting for how the draft's going to go down and see what the rest of the league looks like?
To be honest, we're not really worried about the draft because, obviously we don't have any draft spots in it. So, we weren't really too focused on the draft. We're more worried about, us being in shape. I'm actually outside the gym now, ready to go in and work out. Just make sure we're in shape, make sure we're ready for the summer. I mean, it's really the ball's in our court. We made it to the championship last year. But like I said, we didn't get it to win it. But we're just trying to really just stay focused on us. And as far as our connection, me and CJ I played against him in the league. Known his game for a while, was definitely a fan. And Josh is, of course, him being in LA, we had our battles of playing them 6 times a year.
Right.
Pretty much, between the preseason and then during the regular season. So everybody just clicked, and we were always go to dinner nights before the games. We just did a lot of team stuff. Of course, everybody hangs out. It's the league, so everybody's going. When we get to the city, we're all going to hang out. But we made sure to try to always do our team thing the night before the game, and whether it be talk chemistry, only talk strategy, or just hanging out with the guys and the wives, and just really just trying to build on what we had going on.
Dante, you last summer, when the Big 3 took their hiatus, you played in the 5 tournament as well as the TBT, and you had some pretty, very good team success in the 5 tournament and individual success in both. Do you think, how much of an advantage was that for you now getting ready to return to the Big 3?
It was big for me. A lot of people didn't know. Beginning of 2019, I had surgery on my wrist, so I had missed basically the whole regular season. I'm one of the younger guys in the league that actually still plays professionally, plays during the year. So last year before Corona hit, I was still out there playing. I was in Saudi Arabia playing. So to have a full season under my belt and then go into the summertime it was big for me. My rhythm was there. I was in pretty good shape. So I'm looking to take advantage of that again this summer with me being playing earlier, and I played in Colombia this past year, and I played in Tunisia to finish the season up. So having that kind of in-game, I guess you would say my in-game, in shape, being able to be out there playing full court and coming to the Big 3, I look to just go out there and just do my thing this year.
Yes, sir. We got enemies on the clock right now. They got 4.5 minutes to pick, 5 minutes to pick, but it's at 4.5 minutes now. Swaggy P's up here talking. I thought he took the mic like he just instantly knew he was going to pick already. Which
they probably do. I mean, they've
wouldn't be surprising.
Now.
Exactly.
They've known for a while who they're picking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like whether you're watching the league for the first time, Isaiah Austin, is that who you think they're going with, Dante?
That's who I would go with. If I was the enemies.
Okay. Will and I have been pretty vocal about thinking it's Jordan Hill, just because on the No Chill podcast, that was the first name he mentioned. Just hearing around a couple guys.
Him and Nick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably, I guess you got your guys.
Dante, you were right. You were right. Trust the players. Isaiah Austin is the number 1 pick. First off the board. It is not Jordan Hill. Will, it's good that you didn't pay $100 or put $100 down on Jordan Hill.
I literally said that to you. I was like, can we bet on this? I'm taking Jordan Hill, but thank God I did it. Oh my gosh.
I mean, and we got a little quick highlight for him, but he apparently he was the best guy did really well at the combine, and Isaiah Austin's the first dude off the board. I mean, this is a guy who was going to be a lottery pick before all the medical issues that happened. He was cleared to play. Now he's back in the league or back playing overseas, and it's going to be first guy pick. Enemy's got the first pick for the second time in a row. I mean, Jordan, you couldn't have said it better. Trust the players. Dante, you knew right away who it was going to be. And
go with arenas paid for that first pick.
So it kind of looks like,
Ooh.
Got some drama going on now. I like it.
I'm messing around.
Hang on.
I'm playing. Let me not start no drama, no stuff.
yeah, Dante already said he ain't coming. He's not staying around to talk about how the team stack up. So, we're already saving you from that drama.
I'm interested to see my guys get drafted. I got a bunch of guys in the draft tonight. Me and Isaiah became cool playing overseas against each other. Darnell Jackson, of course, is my guy from Sacramento. Bobby Brown.
What your
Chris
ones look
Wright.
like.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got a bunch of guys in the draft that I'm rooting for. Justin Timmons is another good guy.
Yo, Dante, what about Arenzi?
Excuse me?
What about Onuaku?
Oh, Ayo, I'm sorry. I forgot about Ayo. I'm leaving out my guy, Ayo. He's actually supposed to be at the gym tonight, too. So, yeah, I mean, it's so many guys that I know that went to the draft. Ojo, one of the guys that made it from D.C., Devin Sweetney. Man, so many guys I know that. As soon as I got the captain job, it was crazy. As soon as I got the captain job, my phone was ringing off the hook.
Dante, I was about to say, Dante, a ton of the Brunson League guys are entering the draft this year. I mean, I was telling them before, Devin, SpongeBob Washington, Randy Gill, you know what I mean? All the local DMV guys are so many of them are entering the draft this year.
Yeah, I feel bad for SpongeBob. He actually tore his Achilles right after.
That's what I heard.
Right after right after the DC combine. Yeah, the DC the tryout. So he had tore his Achilles. So definitely shout prayers out to him.
Yes, sir.
But it was a bunch of guys, man. A lot of guys that were just in shape and can really make some noise in the Big 3 if they get drafted. So it's an exciting night for them.
So Enemies goes with Isaiah Austin. They kind of had the youth movement going. They had the two youngest co-captains, and now they got Isaiah Austin, who, I mean, that dude's not that old either. Probably, 28 or something. Got your guy Frank Nitty over at
story, man.
That's the draft. Yeah, I know. What a great story. Oh, and we're 0 for 2, Will. So Earl Clark is going to be the second pick going to Tri-State. I heard some rumblings about Earl Clark. I just didn't know it would be this early in the draft. Earl Clark's the second guy. 2 combine guys. So the combine has definitely been beneficial, like we expected. It's Earl Clark's off the board. What do we think of Earl? Was that surprising to you, just knowing all the draft pool, or Dante? I'm sorry, I should.
Oh, but me. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, Earl Clark played against him in college. He's actually. I haven't seen him play in a while, but for what I'm hearing, he's a lot better. Looks a lot better than he did in college and even in the NBA. So hopefully everything works out for them. But
Yeah.
You know me. I'm coming at everybody this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't know if you guys remember, but when Earl Clark was with the Lakers that one year that Dwight Howard and Steve Nash were there, they had a bunch of injury problems that year, and then Mike D'Antoni threw Earl Clark off the bench for a couple games, and then he had 3 straight doubles, and then D'Antoni was saying I might have had a gem on our bench this entire season, didn't even know it. And then I remember that year he played a ton, but his problem was inconsistency. But he was a guy that could stretch the floor. He had really good size at 6'9", 6'10", but like Dante was saying, a lot of these guys don't develop until a little bit later in their career. So, if he's a better player now, he was good then, but if he's a better player now, I actually think that's a pretty good pick.
Man, well, we saw in 2019 that size would be coveted. We've seen 2 dudes at least 6'9" or taller go, and guys who can shoot as well, some stretch bigs out there. I mean, Earl Clark's only 33, another guy who's in powers. Oh, and shoot. And was that Balut? Did Balut just go 3 to power?
No, he did not.
So I think Dusan Balut just went 3 to power. He was supposed to play for Ball Hogs last year, and then FIBA barred him from playing. Was basically if you play in the Big 3, you ain't playing in the Olympics. Ended up not mattering, but he went so late last year, and I guess Coach Lieberman was like, "Hey, I want a guy who plays 3-on-3 year round and even through the pandemic." So Dusan Balut is third off the board.
Man. He can play.
You played against him. I remember you told me the first time we talked. You had played against him.
Yeah, I played against him in when 3-on-3 first got started up. It's crazy because Robbie Hummel was supposed to come out and play with us, and I was in Dubai at the time. It was about 2015 when 3-on-3 kind of like really just started taking off. And Dusan was in. We played in Abu Dhabi. And our teams met in the championship. It was 2 different tournaments. The first tournament we beat them. Him and his squad. They were the reigning world champs at the time. We beat them. And then the second tournament they came back and won. But we we talked last 2019 combine, and he can play, man. He really, really can play, especially 3-on-3 ball, man. He's strong. He's deceptively quick. He's a small, big guard. It doesn't look like he's as quick as he is, but he can go, man. He can go really hoop.
We got a little highlight clip just for anybody who hasn't seen Dusan Ballou play, just like 3 or 4 highlights. But dude is a insane passer. He's got insane vision, like you said, just deceptively quick. I feel like he's always one of those guys, at least one of the 3-on-3 highlights that I've seen, is just always making the right move.
Mm-hmm.
So just super nice. I feel like I actually went on YouTube, looked for some of his highlights. He's got a 10-minute highlight clip of him just making like insane highlights. It's pretty wild.
Without spoiling anything, I just got a text from that the draft is crazy delayed and the next few picks have already been made.
Oh shit.
That's good to know.
Jordan's
So that's why Commissioner Clyde is already making these picks back to back to back. Huh.
I feel like if you don't know who Dusan Ballou is, I mean, this is much, higher than we had him going at all. But I feel like America, the big 3 is going to fall in love with this guy.
So I'm not sure who this guy is sitting down right now. Ball Hogs is up. Like you said, Jordan, it is delayed because they're already like down to 2 minutes. Oh, and my stream just froze up. Oh, so Steve Wong, he's the SUPERDRAFT CEO. So I guess they're just talking about one of the sponsors. All right, we got 3 picks in. Ball Hogs is up. They added 2 new co-captains. Man, honestly, I don't even know. I knew there would be a bunch of surprises. I thought David Hawkins would be off the board. I mean, I don't know. Dante, is there anyone you like going like this high in the draft? I mean, at least for Ball Hogs, because we know they've only had 4 wins in 3 years. They got to make some noise this year.
To be honest, I wouldn't wish anybody to get drafted by the Ball Hogs. So
oh my God.
I don't have anything to say. But I will say this though. What's big though, I think for the big 3 or just for 3-on-3 basketball period, is to have that versatile guy and to not kind of toot my own horn, but that's what helped us in 2019. Myself being able to go out there and being able to guard a guard and also still guard a big at times, and with Isaiah and Earl growing early, teams are kind of seeing that's kind of like a big it's like a nice little blueprint, I think, to make a good team is you got to have at least one of those versatile guys, a stretch 4-3 man that can guard 4 guards and bigs, and have that 6'8", 6'10" range is big. So I know that's why I told a lot of the guys that I knew that were like that. Hey, Big 3 is definitely a good spot for you to be at, and as long as you go to the combine, you definitely get picked up.
Dante, I admire the commitment, man, but you don't have to sell yourself anymore. You made it. You're a co-captain. You found a home.
Yeah. Hey,
but about your versatility, you made it, man.
Well, he's killing it last year.
I need a championship. Yes. That's when I made it.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, we already know you got the
trophy.
Like the championship caliber team, evidenced by last year. So all these teams are trying to match up right now, and kind of taking the blueprint from you and triplets, but. Like you said, Ball Hogs, they've had their struggles. Do you like what Ball Hogs did? They added Barbosa, obviously the Brazilian blur. I feel like speed's always good for a 3-on-3 setting, and they got a big who can shoot.
Yeah, no telling. I don't think anybody's seen him play in how long. So no telling what type of shape he's going to be in because, with the guys that been sitting out for a while and trying to come back and play, it's not easy. The Big 3 is not easy league. Everybody thinks, just 3-on-3 is half court, but nah, man, we really be out there. We be bumping, we be going at it. So yeah. Guys dropping out, injuries. I tell guys all the time, you don't get drafted, definitely keep yourself in shape because every week somebody's falling out, injuries. So it's not as easy as people think it is.
Or I should say, is anyone in here, Jordan? I know that you're pretty close with a couple of big three guys, and Dante, you know the league pretty well, obviously playing in it. We surprised that there haven't been any guys go in the top 3 picks with big three experience. I mean, we got David Hawkins in there, and the picks in right now for Ball Hawks. We got David Hawkins out there. There's a number of guys who played in the big three last year. Rob Height. And they went Will McDonald. I got one.
Wow.
Good pick.
Right on
Great
time.
pick.
Well, right on time. I was going to say, are we surprised that any big three or guys with big three experience haven't gone yet? But Rick Barry told us that he'd been talking with Will McDonald all offseason, and he was pretty nice last year.
Now, Will is a big dude with a really soft touch. He's a problem down there, especially if he gets you in his sweet spot on the block anywhere. He can really score the ball. Defensively, him being able to be out there moving his feet on guards, maybe switching, that might be a big problem. I know we would definitely try to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But just offensively, man, he's a problem, man. He can definitely go. He had a good showing in the Big 5 tournament last year too. So, in the 5 tournament. But yeah. I like that pick for them.
They got a lot of older guys right now. So they got Barbosa. I mean, Hawes isn't I'm not saying he's maybe as old as the other guys, but Scal, Barbosa, and McDonald, some older guys. I wonder if they'll go with some youth in that last pick.
Gotta have some youth. Got to. That's the way the league is going. That's why, you see a lot of the guys that, some of the older guys that probably aren't getting drafted early. Maybe if they're around the second round, they'll get picked up. But the league is getting younger. You don't need to be, we have to have that NBA experience. So you don't have to be 30, 27 years old. I think the age limit is 22 now. So, guys, teams are going younger, making sure they have that youth out there to kind of get them over the hump against the older guys.
Isn't Will 40?
About 40, 41.
Yeah. I don't know how old he is exactly. I know he's definitely older than me.
It's 40. Oh, it's 41. Okay.
Jordan, I know you're looking into this pick a lot with you being pretty close.
We all know
Taylor.
Jordan knows this pick. Let's call it what it is. Jordan knows exactly what's about to happen.
He knows it. He knows who it's going to be.
It's been so hard to keep my mouth shut, but I'm ready.
How about this, Jordan? We'll let you, once the pick comes out, we'll let you say it.
I'm good with that.
All right, who's the pick?
Let's see. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
Okay, another big three vet going. Top 5 scorer last year.
Most slept on guys.
How long have you known about this, Jordan?
They have been eyeing him since the end of last season, but they thought he was going to be a captain, so they didn't really look into him that much. Then the enemies went a different direction, and it was pretty much like right then and there. They were just worried if he was going to fall to him or not.
He fell, and they got a team full of big three vets, so they didn't go with the shiny new toy that we were talking about a little bit beforehand. Enemies went a completely different direction. Craig Smith proved himself that he can ball out there. He just was on. It was kind of like a whirlwind of what they were doing last year for enemies. I felt like they started off really well, and they kind of just fell off, and then Gil got hurt late, and I feel like just guys were in and out. It was kind of a weird season for enemies all around, but I felt like the most consistent person on that team was Craig throughout the year.
And the funniest thing is after Craig found out that he wasn't going to be a captain, we had a phone call, and he was worried that he wasn't going to get drafted.
That's ridiculous.
Wow, really?
I talked to him. I was like, dude, you're top 5 in scoring. You're going to get drafted. So he's just so humble. It's hysterical.
All right. So, Will, I got 2 of the 5 in the mock draft. You got 1.
You're kicking my ass right now, man.
I wouldn't say kicking your ass. I was just saying, and they're about to show the play where Bynum does Mike Taylor again.
They abused that footage. Show the next play. Show the play after that.
I still remember Craig Smith during those Minnesota Timberwolves LA Clipper days. I mean, I don't think that there was a stronger big man, maybe a top 5 strongest big man in the league at one point, 6'7", 270. I mean, just a block of steel. I mean, he was he was a pit bull. I mean, he probably still is. I haven't seen him play in the Big 3, but in the league he was.
Between him and what's Reggie? What's his last name?
Oh, Reggie Evans.
Between him and Reggie Evans, man,
Reggie Evans. Yep.
some strong
Reggie-
dudes right there.
He's a big
Reggie's
guard,
a
man.
killer on the boards.
So Jordan, give us a little insight, man. How much easier does this make your life?
So much easier, guys. You have no idea. We've been talking about possibly having me try to run the Ghost Ballers. Oh, there's our guy Craig. I wish I could
There
hear him
he
right now, but I
is.
have the thing on mute. He was just texting me. He's hyped. He was telling me that he's really hyped. I know he's ready to go.
I don't know where Aliens is going to go. Oh, it does have Craig. I must be
The
incredible.
thing with Alien that I'm curious about is Mike Bibby was supposed to be their head coach.
Yeah.
Now
I don't know what
not.
happened with that.
And but he
Mahorns-
was at the draft lottery. So I'm really confused on what's going on there.
Yeah,
I'm sure he should help him
I
out,
didn't
bro.
hear anything else. I haven't talked to Mike, so
Maybe he's, like,
I don't know what's
consulting?
going on with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I will
talked
say
to
this.
Mike in a while.
Speaking of all of that, with Aliens coming up, it's a good time for this stuff. What the hell happened with Andre Owens? I don't know. I have no idea.
No idea either.
That was still one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
I seen him
Yeah.
put something out though, like something was going on, like time will tell or something. Maybe he's supposed to be getting drafted. I don't know, but
Yeah, I don't know. He was definitely being like a little cryptic about it. I don't know.
yeah, I think I think they should probably pick him up. I don't know, to be honest.
I don't know.
Yeah,
He was so
I
hyped
told you
for
I'm
the
worried
year.
about the 3s out there.
Yes, sir.
That's true.
Your guy Frank is just chilling over there, I guess. He's just cooling it. He's got the easiest night. He's on his phone and shit. That's funny. Yeah, I don't know where Aliens go. I feel like Aliens and Three-Headed Monsters have been the two toughest for me to kind of decipher. But then again, I think there's just going to be a ton of surprises in general. But yeah, Rick Mahorn's about to coach his third team. He coached Trilogy to a 10-0 season and a title year one. And Enemies last year. And Ronaldo Bachman just goes number 6.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow.
Wow.
Ronaldo Bachman, number 6. Okay.
Man, I need like a commercial break or something, man. I'm behind. I'm just getting on Craig.
Dante, as you see this draft go on and you see players go to these teams, are any of these like really surprising to you? Do they make you feel better about your chances? Do they worry you at all? Is there anything like going through your mind like that?
To be honest, that Isaiah to the Enemies, that's a really good pick. That really puts them. I mean, to be honest, it puts them with a target on their back. I mean, they got I believe they're the youngest team in the league. Right as of right now with the captains and Isaiah, don't really matter who else they pick after that. I think the Enemies right now probably are winning the draft, as far as the draft is concerned, for sure. I think.
Yeah, we had heard a couple things about Bachman to Ball Hogs, but I don't know if they were trying to get him with the second or first pick, but not following Bachman to Aliens. So, and I also saw, I hopped in someone's stream and B-Rush was in there and said that they were looking at a guard. So expect a point guard in the second round. I just don't know which one.
I'll say this, as we're approaching the 7th pick, I got to say it. Where is David Hawkins?
I'm shook on that one.
This to me is a man that is not, I mean, I don't know, man. This to me, I mean, if you're at number 7, if you're Three-Headed Monsters and you're about to pick up David Hawkins, that's Rashard Lewis, Mahmoud Duroof, Reggie Evans, and David Hawkins. That's a crazy team with a ton of proven Big 3 success.
Well, you had him as your second pick, didn't you?
I had him as number 2. I figured
right.
there was no way that he was going to fall past 2. Oh, here we go.
I think Hawk has something in the works with somebody. I know for sure.
Oh, you think so? You think so?
I think so.
There's no way he doesn't get drafted.
I'm not even about it. For sure he's getting drafted. That's
Three-Headed
Kevin
Monsters
Murphy.
take Kevin Murphy. Okay.
That's someone I heard about too. That's someone I was hearing about too. Apparently it was like
Murphy.
Hawk,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I'm not really too sure of his background, but Jeff.
Yeah, I know quite a bit
Where do you
about
go?
Kevin because he was a G League. Well, back in the D League, he was a D League All-Star back in the day. He's around like 6'5". He's a phenomenal all-around scorer. Back during like the 2014 season, he and Pierre Jackson were probably the two. They were like the CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard of the G League. You know, Kevin was averaging like 26. Then you had Pierre Jackson was averaging close to 30 that year. But yeah, he's like, for his career in the G League, he's probably 25. Maybe like 21 points per game average. All around good scorer, can shoot the 3-ball, 6'5", can play the swingman position. But just a really good scorer in general. I don't think he ever made the league though.
Got something to prove then. Okay. So 3-headed monsters goes with Kevin Murphy.
Jeff, this is why we invited you on, man.
If it's G League related, I know all the guys.
I think we're going to be seeing a ton of G League guys coming up. I mean, we have Trilogy right now, who is Jarrett Jack and Amir Johnson. It's like basically like the Ignite alumni team.
Dude, I cannot wait. Well, Amir Johnson just announced that he's playing with in TBT. So I guess maybe that's his backup if he doesn't. Yeah, depending on if he gets drafted.
He's going to take that announcement back quick.
You think so? Yeah, I think he signed with Floyd's team.
We're not allowed to play in the TV and
in both.
In the TBT. Yeah, you can't do both.
See,
yeah.
I was wondering about that. I was like, no way he's going to be able to do both.
Unless he's going to be a coach. He's like a coach GM type deal. Then
could be.
I don't think we're not allowed to play in both.
So what'd you say, Dante? I'm sorry. Do you expect him to be in the Big 3 still, or do you think Trilogy now needs another captain?
I mean, if it was me, I'm sticking with the Big 3, to be honest.
Right.
I just that's just me. Everybody's different though. So, I can't say what he's going to do, but if it was me, I'm staying in the Big 3.
Right. That's guaranteed money anyways.
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit more? So Frank came on and told us a little bit about how the pay structure is a little bit different. There's more incentive to win. Obviously, the main goal is the championship, but can you dive into a little bit on how that works? Like, I was a little confused on it.
Yeah, I just think this year period is going to be way more competitive. I mean, it's already competitive out there. Guys don't want to lose, period. And, especially with, you making it to the playoffs, it's extra money. And even this year now, it's a pay difference in win and losing. So if you would lose, you're not getting as much as if you win. And also with this whole Bahamas as the playoffs and the championship, that's a huge incentive. I got family members that already have booked their trips to Bahamas because
no way.
Yeah, it's serious, man. So I know we're coming out and you gotta try to make the playoffs. That's the goal, just to come out, play hard, and definitely win every night or every weekend. But you want to make it to the playoffs, and then once you get to the playoffs, it's a brand new season. Because last year when we made it to the playoffs, we had kind of barely made it in, and I know for sure I don't think anybody picked us to make it to the championship, and we wind up making it to the chip. So once you get to the playoffs, man, it kind of starts over like a whole new season.
The Bahamas, that's so wild. Like, what? I mean, there wasn't already incentive to win with the whole pay structure, and obviously just trying to win the championship in this league. Like, you get to go to the Bahamas. Like, that is nuts.
That's dope.
Y'all, you guys looking for towel boys or ball guys? Just a couple boards. Just
I can be it. Yeah, I can be anything for you.
I'll do anything. Yeah.
Anything. Look, the Bahamas, man. Come on down.
That's awesome.
I'll book my own trip and still be working.
Right. I'm about to get out of here, though, fellas. Ahead in the gym.
All right, Dante.
Good luck to the rest of you guys. To everybody else
Appreciate
getting drafted,
Dante.
And I'll check in with you guys later on.
Yes,
For
sir.
sure,
We
Dante.
appreciate you
Absolute
stopping
pleasure
by.
as always.
All right,
All
appreciate
right,
Dante
awesome.
Green of Killer Threes dropping by. He gave us some good insight.
Great insight. I'm actually surprised that he hadn't heard of Kevin, because I always feel like ball players know ball players, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't know them personally. They just heard the name or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess there's just so many ball players out there. It's like
Yeah, that's the thing. Right.
I lose track of everybody.
Right. At the time that he was dominating the G League, getting like 25 a game, Dante was in the league. He was with the Kings at the time. He probably wasn't even concerned with what was going on in the G League.
Do you feel like there's the guys in the NBA? I mean, you kind of explained it there, but do you feel like most NBA guys are like that, where they don't really know what's going on in the G League because, one, they're concerned with their own team, but then two, it's just a lot of guys going in and out of the G League?
Yeah, I have a feeling that, if you ask the star players, they might know the players on their affiliated team. You know what I mean? Like if you ask Ben Simmons, name the good players on the Delaware Bluecoats this year, he probably could, because a lot of them probably were at the Sixers training camp, or they might be on two ways with the Sixers, or they could be Sixers rookies, And then if you were to ask, LeBron, maybe not this year because the South Bay Lakers didn't play, but the year before, like if he knew who Talon Horton Tucker was before he got called up to the NBA, he probably would,
Okay.
Well, I just know for me, it was the coolest thing to see D'Lo coming out to the G League Long Island Nets games. And
Yes,
then when Theo hit the game winner, that was just so cool to see. And I wish that more guys did that, because we see in like baseball and like things where like there's like a serious appreciation for like the minor league players from the major leaguers. And it's like this like kind of like big like organizational family. And I wish that I feel like the NBA embraced that a little bit more. It would not only help out the G League a ton, but it would just be super fun.
Absolutely. The first time I was on your guys' podcast, I talked about how the NBA has such, they do so much work in terms of publicizing the WNBA, but, whether it's wearing the hoodies and then the orange hoodies, or this past year, they were wearing the 20th anniversary polo shirts, but they don't really do the same to promote the G League. I don't know why there's not a bigger emphasis on that.
Alonzo G just went with Bivouac to join Will Bynum, Josh Smith, and Mo Spates. Another G League guy there, but another new face to the Big Three. Bivouac has been another bucket getter there. You probably know more about him than I do, Jeff.
I like Alonzo G a lot. It's sad, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but Alonzo G is more famous for a video where he steals a rebound from Andre Bloch to get his triple-double. Have you guys seen that?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I have seen that. Yeah.
It was when Andre Bloch was one rebound away from a triple-double, and Alonzo G, poor guy, just went up for the rebound, and Andre Bloch looking at him like, what the hell did you just do? But, yeah, Alonzo was in the G League a little bit, nice swingman. I haven't heard – it's crazy. I haven't heard of him in a long time. It's cool to see, like, these guys are still playing and still active.
I think that Alonzo G has put his name in here a couple times. I don't know, maybe if it just didn't work out or he wasn't drafted. I don't know what the case was. Maybe he just came and looked better at the combine. But I've seen his name, I think, at least in 2019. So it's cool to see like some of those guys who didn't get the shot in 2019 get their shot this year, especially with the limited spots this year.
Right. And if you remember, Alonzo G for 2 years with the Cavs, I mean, the Cavs were horrible during those 2 years because LeBron had just left, but he was a double-digit scorer, for Cleveland. 2 years.
That's how I remember him the most. Yeah. Hard not to remember. And I think maybe he played with Denver. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Oh, he did for a little bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Now. Ghost Ballers had their eyes on Alonzo Gee because they felt like they needed a kind of like a defensive wing type player. So that was one of the guys they were keeping their eyes on, but unfortunately, he fell.
Very interesting draft so far. So, wow, I don't know. I knew that there was going to be a lot of surprises. Obviously, throughout the draft, there's going to be some guys that the players knew that we didn't. But I guess I'm just surprised. I mean, Will, we're probably the most surprised about one thing, and that's David Hawkins that he hasn't gone yet. I think, judging off of what Dante said, I think the stars are aligned. I think we kind of got half of it right. So I think that David Hawkins is returning to an old team, but not Tri-State. I think we're going to see him pick 10th for Three's Company. I think he's going to reunite with DeMar. It's going to be a whole DMV squad. I think it's going to be great.
I'd love to see that.
Well, we know that DeMar's a big fan of David Hawkins, so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still kind of taken off guard by the first 3 picks. I don't know about you guys, but that's still like.
I mean, it's not surprising that Isaiah Austin went 1. Like, I think he's a guy that he was either going to go really high or he was going to fall.
Mhm.
And I guess I'm a little surprised about how high Doosan went because we talked about some of the risk maybe taking him. Will FIBA try to ban him again or not? I mean, he's been talking about since 2019 that he's going to return to the Big Three regardless. But we thought maybe like the Olympics would come in the way, and is there some kind of risk in that? So that's why we had him falling all the way to the end of the second round because we didn't know. Like we obviously know he can play, but are there any risks to taking him? And do you take that type of risk? And Will, one of your things was maybe you do because of the loaded draft pool and the amount of guys that are being taken. It's only 20 guys. So let's say that for some reason one of these guys can't play or an injury happens. You have a whole bunch of guys you can pick from. I mean, there'll be like 80 guys you can still pick up that I think are plenty caliber to bring or add value to any of these teams in here. So interesting draft. I mean, I'm not going to question Nancy Lieberman either. She's already won a chip.
Yeah, I mean, I basically just said great thing. Let's say the Doosan pick doesn't work out. Power could really select, a ton of guys. I'm just so excited because we all know how big of just a fanboy I am of Nancy Lieberman and Power. And as this next pick comes in, I'm just super happy for Doosan. What a dream pairing for me as an individual.
Yes, I'm excited about that too. So we got Trilogy about to pick here.
Let's see who'd they get. Wow! Oh shit! You called it.
I told you. Let's go. Okay,
Wow.
Meta World Peace from CoCap.
Wow!
So for anybody tuning into the live stream, Meta World Peace is played in the Big Three, and obviously I'm talking to people that haven't tuned into the Big Three before. He's played in the Big Three before. He was a co-captain with Killer Threes. Took last year off, but obviously played with Steven Jackson during the season 2 year. Comes back in the draft pool. I mean, this guy's been coaching. I don't know what he's been doing for the past 2 years.
He tried to start his own league.
I thought he was going to transition to a coach, but he was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to continue to play. And I just really wasn't surprised by that. I was pretty black and white by the draft pool, and wow. I wasn't surprised, but now as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, he really did do that, huh?
I can't believe it. I mean, when Stack posts this morning, he has his pick set in. I mean, it just makes sense. If you're gonna call a guy called dibs on a guy, it's gonna be Stack calling dibs on Meta World Peace, and he said NBA dog. Meta World Peace is an NBA dog. So I mean, you look at that lineup, man. Jarrett Jack, Amir Johnson, James White, Meta World Peace. Oh my God!
Meta's been staying real active with his own company. I think it's called like XVX Sports.
Yeah,
so I know he's been in the gym like nonstop. So
well, and then I was going to say that Dante mentioned versatility, being able to defend multiple positions and do a lot of things on the court. He said that was a very valuable asset having the Big Three. I feel like right now Trilogy has a lot of those guys, a lot of lengthy wings that can kind of do a little bit of it all. Very interesting team.
What's funny is that
so Stack just said that Earl Clark was going to be his first pick. So I have a feeling that a lot of teams have their eye on Earl Clark, and Tri-State took him early.
I wonder.
What were you going to say, Jeff? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's all right. I was going to say, I think it's funny how, Meta World Peace isn't even his name anymore because he had changed his name. I forgot what it's to. Let me look it up.
It was Panda Friend.
It was, yeah.
No, he changed
was
it back to like something kind of more normal.
Oh, it's Meta Sandiford Artest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he kept the Meta, but I guess everyone still calls him Meta World Peace. I tell you the truth, I still call him Ron Artest.
Wait, so what's his new name? I didn't even know about his new name.
Yeah, his new name is Meta Sandiford Artest. And I'm not sure what the Sandiford is, but he doesn't go by Meta World Peace.
Meta stand up. So you have to say that whole thing just to say. I mean, I guess it would just still be Meta, but instead of World Peace, it's not. Or instead of World Peace, it's stand up for.
Yeah, I guess they just still call him Meta World Peace. I like that name better, anyways.
I think it's a cool name. I would always on 2K. I would always make that my last name because I just thought it was cool.
Anthony World Peace.
Yeah,
I like it.
You should have been like his anti. You should have been like World War.
World Peace Meta.
If they ever do like a Big 3 media game at All-Star Weekend, that should be like your name.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible. Anthony
I'll
World
make sure
Peace,
to sign in with it. Jordan, so I'm interested. Do you already know the next pick for Ghost Ballers as well?
No.
Three's company's about to pick?
I
Okay,
do
so you
not,
don't.
especially since they're dead
This is
last.
going to be David Hawkins calling it right now.
It's got to be David Hawkins. Can't see Hawks.
Yep, I just read his lips. I think I read his lips. I'm pretty sure I read his lips.
Did you read his lips?
I did not read his lips properly. Oh my god.
Jeremy Parker. You were right. That was your pick.
That was my pick. I'm so
Oh, I
confused.
love this pick.
Jeremy
This is a
Pargo.
great pick.
I thought he was going to go back to power, but that's a bucket
Pargo
getter.
told me he didn't think he was getting drafted.
It's funny that a lot of these guys think
I mean,
that.
he's 1 year removed from the NBA.
Yeah, I'm the Warriors.
Yeah,
No.
right. 1 year removed.
He played 2 games in the Big 3 last year. It was the playoff game and then the consolation game. And his first game, I think, was the playoff game, right? Or if not, it was the Big 3 ball out. But, I mean, to come in that situation when power's already been depleted all year and just absolutely score at will the way he did. I mean, look, rest in peace again to Andre Emmett. I know we mentioned it once, but that's who they're going to have to try to replace. And that's going to be a tall task already. He's probably one of the best one-on-one players in the league. And so I guess they were looking for someone who's going to be able to score at any given time, like Andre Emmett. And Parker did a good job at least showing them 2 games he played in.
Yeah, and he's a guy that can get really hot. He's not a knockdown shooter, but there's some games when he's on where he can hit those 30-foot 3-pointers. He can go for 5 threes. And I think the biggest thing about him is that he's a great on-ball defender too. There's no point guard probably in this draft as strong as Jeremy Pargo, and probably as athletic as well.
Well, I was going to say, too, he's used to summer ball. I mean, obviously he's played overseas. He's played in the NBA, but he's been playing the TBT for a long time.
He has, yeah, overseas elite. Yep.
Wow.
I actually still get nightmares because I don't know if I told you guys, but I was the GM and I coached one of my own TBT teams for 2 years, and we played overseas elite our second year in 2019, and he had 2 wide open fast break windmill dunks on us.
Oh my god.
God.
Yeah.
Trying to think, how many did we even get right there? 1. I think we each got 3. Will? I don't know why I'm even keeping track of it anymore. It doesn't even matter. But I think we got 3 out of the 10. That's not too bad.
That's not bad. But were there 3 different ones? So combined 6 out of 10? Or no?
I got McDonald, Craig Smith, and who was the last one? Metal World Peace.
I got Craig Smith, Jeremy Pargo, and that might be it.
Oh. That was tough. I think we picked some guys that we knew that would go in the first round, but wow, that was I don't even think a lot. I think a lot of the guys that went in the first round weren't even in our mock draft. So
Wow.
Shame on us.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That just makes
That's
the second round
insane.
even more exciting then.
Absolutely. There is some serious talent in the second round.
Mhm.
I mean, oh my
Tony
gosh.
Roten's still out there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony Roten's got to get drafted. You know,
If he does,
I'll
he
say
does.
this on the live stream. He has been so supportive of us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he's just been reaching out, so excited to play. And oh my God, I really hope that he gets picked. I mean, if he doesn't get picked, I don't know, but
He's talented, man. He belongs in
he's
this league.
great.
deserves
He
it.
absolutely belongs.
I was going to say that we talked about the first round being the round where you weren't going to take a lot of risks. You were going to get it looks like a lot of guys from the combine were picked, or guys that you knew really well or had Big 3 experience were guys that win this first round. So the second round is where you can kind of take some of that risk. And I don't know, with this draft pool, it makes me kind of think do we see a lot of turnover this year? Like if guys aren't panning out well within the first couple of games, but they're only being 8 or 9 games throughout the year. Do we see a lot of guys be okay, maybe you're not going to be the best fit for our team. We're going to go with somebody else. That would be kind of interesting. But so the first round is over. Isaiah Austin, Earl Clark. Oh, Jeremy Parker is showing up right now. Isaiah Austin, Earl Clark, Dusan Balut, Will McDonald, Craig Smith, Ronaldo Balkman, Kevin Murphy, Alonzo G, Meta World Peace, and Jeremy Pargo are the first 10 picks. Only 10 more picks to go. Who are we kind of keeping an eye on team-wise after the first round has gone by? Jordan, I know Ghost Ballers would be yours, but anybody else outside of Ghost Ballers? Just team-wise after each team has selected one outside of triplets and killer threes.
Honestly, I like the Alonzo G pick for Bivouac. I think they got a lot of talent there, a lot of experienced talents as well. So that's a team I would watch. I also like the Jeremy Pargo pick a lot for Three's Company. But again, I'm still not confident enough saying like who I like overall until I see how the second round falls, just because, there's still so much that can happen.
Yes, sir. 100%. Yeah, for me in the second round, like after the way the first round has gone, I mean, I'm kind of interested in power now. I mean, that might be the obvious choice, seeing as they have the first pick of the second round. But to go Dusan Balut, third pick, and add it to Katino Mobley, Royce White, Big Baby, like I think they're going to go another big here. But I'm just very intrigued by that team overall. I did not think Dusan was going anywhere but ball hogs, and I was clearly very wrong about that. It's so weird how much can change in a couple of years, because Balut was such like a risky pick back then, or unknown pick, and he went, I think he's like the third to last pick, and now he's going top 3. Like, that is so wild.
I'd like to call my shot here a little bit. I was wrong with David Hawkins, but I think this next pick is going to be Corey Jefferson.
I think so too.
Corey Jefferson's a former pro guy who was invited to the Big 3 tryouts in Dallas, and originally we were told no pro guys allowed. So I don't know. So we were very confused by the whole thing. So of course we had him on the podcast, and we were like, what happened with that? And he said straight up, he was like, listen, Nancy Lieberman invited me. Nancy Lieberman walked up to me at the gym while I was working out and was like, you trying to play in the Big 3? So I know that Power is interested in him. And I think, the way that this draft is going, if you're going to select Balut, which is a ball handler, the way I look at it is you're trying to replace 2 guys. You got Royce White to replace Corey Maggette. So you need to replace Quentin Richardson and Birdman. Those were the guys you won a championship with. All right, so you try and replace Quentin Richardson with Dusan Balut. So now who's your Birdman replacement? That to me is Corey Jefferson.
Who's on the clock first? Who did you say?
Power will be the first one off.
Okay.
Who do you guys think, and Anthony, feel free to answer this question as well, but who do you think is a team that needs to nail the second pick?
I think it's, I don't mean to jump the line here, but automatically it's got to still be ball hogs. I mean,
yeah,
they went Will McDonald, so they went familiarity. You've only won 4 games in 3 years. I really like what they're kind of constructing here, but again, it's a pretty old team, and as the league is getting younger, they went with familiarity and a guy that they know has had success in the Big 3 already, which is fine. Why would you? You're not trying to fix anything that's not broken, but as a team, this team's been pretty broken. So we got to really nail this pick. I don't know which way they go. I'm gonna say they have to get with some kind of bucket getter, guard, maybe a wing, that can get his own shot. And I think they're gonna have to get someone that's young. So it should be interesting who they go with. I think they have the 9th pick too in the second round. That's rough.
I'm also going to be keeping an eye on Trilogy and probably Three's Company as well. I think they really need to have a solid second round here.
I'm really looking forward to seeing, hopefully, Isaiah Briscoe get his name called, because kind of like we talked about earlier in the show, he's a guy that I think should still be on an NBA radar.
Yeah,
he's as tough and as bullish of a point guard as there was in the G League, and he didn't play for a very good team this year, but actually it's harder to put up numbers on a good team. On a bad team, because you've got the defense, 2 or 3 defenders being thrown at you if you are a good player. It's hard to rack up assists when you're on a bad team, but he still averaged 5 or 6 assists. He's the guy, and we talked about a youth movement. If they were choosing between young guys, and it's between like him or New Williams, some of that, I would pick Isaiah in a heartbeat.
No doubt. I'm reading some of these comments here. First off, what about Maggette? Maggette retired at the end of 2019. Just want to comment on that. Let's see. Thought y'all had Jordan Hill going high. How nobody take him? He was good in the league. Hey, we thought he was going to go high too. We thought he was going to go number 1 overall based on the
Oh my God, we haven't even heard Jordan Hill got picked.
I don't know.
There's still another pick coming up.
I was going to say we could maybe go in the second round to enemies. I don't know. I think Bobby Brown's going to go in here somewhere. We mentioned Dante. He'd like to see him go somewhere, and he's got a lot of connections in this league.
I have Bobby Brown going to Trilogy. Jody Meeks, yeah.
Jody Meeks isn't gone. Wow, Jody Meeks isn't gone.
Whoever needs a shooter should look at Derek Byers too.
Derek Byers too. Derek Byers is always someone who I feel is so disrespected, and this is coming from someone who didn't put him in my own mock draft, so I'm being a huge hypocrite right now. But Derek Byers has been solid for a long time, and you talk about guys who do they deserve captain spots. Derek Byers is right up with them, with the rest of them. So, man, I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens in the second round. And there's so many guys too: the Corsley Edwards, the Alex Scales, the Patrick O'Briens of the world, guys who have been in the Big Three forever and who have been solid contributors. The way this first round is going, I don't know. It looks like we saw a ton of, I don't want to say risky picks, but a ton of new blood in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be very interesting to see if this second round is now like, all right, this is going to be theoretically the last guy off our bench, even though it's only 5 guys. But this is theoretically going to be our 5th man off the bench. So we're going to pick someone who we know is going to be solid. So I wonder if we see the Edwards, the Scales, guys like that.
Another guy that doesn't get that much attention, and probably a lot of fans wouldn't know his name. Do you guys know Stephon Hanna?
Not too familiar with him.
No.
Okay, so Stephon, I saw that his name was in the pool too, and he's 6'1" point guard. He's a great floor general. Played in the G League, won a championship back when it was the D League, but he was also the D League's 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he was essentially the Gary Payton of the league for a little while, and so. He doesn't offer as much offensively, but if you want a guy that's just going to be an absolute hound dog on the defensive end, he could be that guy. And so, he does what he does lack offensively, he makes up for on the defensive end 100%.
Well, Gary Payton for 3-Headed Monster said that he wanted to go with a lot of defense. And you mentioned Kevin Murphy kind of being more of a scorer, bucket getter.
Yep.
So I got to imagine with this pick, they go defense a little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying Kevin Murphy can't be a two-way player. I just don't know a lot about his game.
Yeah, Murphy could definitely defend as well. But I would say the majority of his energy was spent getting buckets. I mean, he was as pure of a defender for a good 2 or 3 seasons in the G League as any swingman.
Interesting. Yeah, so got to be looking at defense here. It's going to be an interesting second round. There's a lot of which ways we could go.
Ryan Hollins is still on the board too. He hasn't been taken yet either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's been in the league since he came into a year 2 and year 3 he was in it.
Yeah,
a couple other G League guys that I think they should be on the radar for is, you remember CJ Leslie? He was.
I love CJ Leslie.
Yeah, CJ was high school teammates with John Wall at Word of God, and he was in the G League for a while. Won a championship with Jerry Stackhouse. With the Raptors 905 in 2017. But he's always been a guy that's been, around like 6'10", super wiry, very athletic, can step out and hit the 3 as well. When I thought about Earl Clark and him, now granted, it's been a while since I've seen Earl Clark. I don't know how he's developed. And, Dante a little earlier said that Earl Clark has gotten better, but there was a few, if you're thinking about a similar style of play, he's very similar to Earl.
Interesting. They can really go. That's Tattoo.
Oh, that's Tattoo?
That's him. He looks the same. You're acting like he looks different.
No, this guy boxing.
Oh.
Probably a Triller Fight ad or something
Oh, it's got to be. Jeff, how excited are you for KJ McDaniels in this draft?
I'm really excited for KJ. KJ, his career has been a little bit up and down per se. He's always been a guy that I thought belonged in the league, but after that 1 year in Philly, he didn't get too much run with like the Rockets or anything like that. But he's been around the G League. He hasn't played in the G League as much over the last 2 years. He's kind of been a role player. But I don't know if you guys heard, but in 2019, he was playing over in the Philippines. And he was averaging like 38 points per game and 17 rebounds. And I know the competition over there isn't as superior as it is into the States, you know what I'm saying? But 38 and 17 in any league is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
KJ is a guy who's still a highlight reel. I mean, I watched him play this year with the Greensboro Swarm, and he didn't have as productive of a year, but he could still get up there just as good as anybody else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, 30 and 17, that's a wild stat, wild stat line to be averaging. I mean, some guys can never do that in a game, let alone any league. This is just, I don't even know. We're naming so many guys, and there's only 10 spots left.
I know. That's the
crazy part. I mean,
another guy that I like that I know has Big 3 experience. He played with Lieberman, didn't he? Was Michael Thompson.
I was just about to mention his name. He's a shooter. We still have him on the board too.
So that's an interesting one too, because he put his name in into the TBT pool as well, playing with the LA Cheaters. So
Right.
it looks like a lot of these guys have a little bit of a backup plan.
Yeah. You know, it sucks because Isaiah was going to play in TBT. He's played in TBT the last 2 years. You know, I've always loved seeing him. And so it's going to suck not seeing some of these guys because they're playing in the Big 3. But the Big 3 is also a great opportunity for them.
Maybe some of these guys, they don't get I mean, that's the good thing about having multiple summer leagues is that if you don't get to play in one of them, you can always go and play in the other one. And there's plenty of spots to play in the TBT. I think the pros and cons are obviously there for both leagues, but I don't know. Maybe a lot of people will just come to the Big 3, obviously, because different style and there's a guaranteed pay. But
I think that has a lot to do with it, is the guaranteed money. You know,
Yeah.
whereas if you win TBT, the grand prize is bigger, but only one team is going to win. Some of the guys might just prefer taking the guaranteed check.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and there's more incentive to win, and you can go to the Bahamas this year. That is still blowing my mind. That still blows my mind.
That offer to Dante was 100% real, by the way. I will wipe the sweat off his brow.
You know, the same way you guys talk about the Big 3, I would do for the G League. Like if someone was like, you know, we need someone to fold the laundry after games, right? I mean, listen, I do it. You know, I wouldn't even hesitate, right? It was just to be in that environment every day, right? It would just be so awesome for you guys to like. I mean, they should actually hire you guys as media members or to like run the pod or get exclusive content or something like that over in the Bahamas. You know what I mean? I think that'd be awesome.
Hey, listen, man, you're preaching to the choir, man.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan.
You know, like. I mean, hell, if they need, someone's got to fill up the Gatorade bottles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, hey, listen, man, I don't know. You know,
I have a
guess
little
they
bit
got
of
their own guys
managerial
for that.
experience in my 8th grade year after I broke my leg. I had to do a little bit of water bottle filling. I'm sure
There we go.
I can bring it back out there.
That's what was keeping you from being on the other end of this draft, right, Anthony? That broken leg in 8th grade.
Yeah, exactly. It's still haunting. It's still hurting me.
Oh, you know what name that I find super interesting in the draft pool that we haven't talked about yet is Tyrus Thomas. We haven't brought him up yet.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tyrus being a lottery pick back in the day, 6'10", super athletic. I mean, you know, it's been maybe 6 years since we last seen him play. But I don't know. He was always like a really good defender when he was tuned in. You know, a solid rebounder and solid rim protector when he was tuned in. You know what I mean? Like, he could be a veteran that we could maybe potentially see in the second round.
Another guy I'm pretty surprised hasn't gone yet has to be Justin Dentman, who apparently had I mean, you talked about him a little bit, but he had a really good combine. And he played on the same team as Isaiah Austin at the combine. So wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere in the second round as well. You mentioned New Williams. He's got crazy bounce.
Mm-hmm.
He's another young guy. So
my thing about
Howard's
New
picking
Williams,
right now. Oh, I apologize.
Oh, sorry.
It looks like did Power pick?
I didn't.
I see Tri-State on the clock, but I
Joe
don't see
Alexander.
Joe
wow.
Alexander. Okay.
Old Milwaukee Bucks pick.
Tina Mobley pulling up. Okay, so not Corey Jefferson like we thought. Joe Alexander.
West Virginia.
Wait a minute. Do I know this guy? No, I don't. Never mind.
34-year-old American-Israeli professional hooper.
Oh, well, there you go. That's
Israel.
the connection right there. He probably played with Nancy's son, TJ Klein, in Israel. They're big in that league.
Yeah,
I guarantee you this is a pick from him. This is probably, he's like, listen, Mom, I just played against this guy. He just dropped 50 on us. Keep his name in the back of your mind. And here it is. That's 100% what that is.
He drafted
So many guys end up
8th
playing over there
overall.
in Israel too.
Also, I know it's been a few years since last seen him play, but when he was in his prime, unbelievable athlete. Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
He's only 34.
Yeah, 34 years old, right? Still pretty young. But, I mean, he was throwing down some unbelievable dunks during his G League career.
Is this right? Did he play in The Hangover?
What?
That's him? That's not him.
It says The Hangover. It says movies below everything. It says he was a 8th pick. Is that right? The 8th pick in the first round,
Yeah,
Jeff?
that's him.
It says he was in The Hangover.
Really?
Hi.
No, he wasn't. Who's the guy they find on the roof? That's not him.
Oh, I'm not saying he was a main character. He probably just made a little cameo appearance or something.
Oh, he does kind of look like
Katina's-
the guy that they find on the roof.
I'll
Katina's
rewatch
talking
it
about him
tonight,
right
and
now.
I'll let you guys know.
It says that he was the pit boss. I don't know what that means.
The pit boss.
Yeah, I have no what that means. How did he get that role?
That's what I mean. What the hell's going on here? I gotta find that scene.
Nancy's talking right now, so I wonder if she gives us a little bit of an insight.
I accidentally wrote Jason Alexander. That's someone else. That's fucking George from Seinfeld.
And with Cat that helped us win that championship. We think, the league has gotten better. I mean, everybody has gotten better. And I agree with Stag.
Lieberman's got a nice home.
She does.
Wow, yeah, she does.
Very well put together.
Very well put together.
Really feng shui. It's
Yeah.
like that scene. It's like that scene in SpongeBob when they're selling chocolate.
Yeah.
Nice place you got here.
Looking at this team, the completed team now, though, I feel like that's such a hit or miss team.
Yeah, I'd agree. You're putting a lot of pressure on Big Baby to grab rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless Alexander's a good rebounder, he's a sizable player, 6'8" guy, and Royce White's a good rebounder.
That's true
Very
too.
athletic
That's
dude.
true.
So
I guess I pictured Royce White as really being like a distributor for them, but now after seeing
they got dudes on now.
and Dusan, I'm very interested to see how this team plays, and Coutinho too. I don't know. That's
Man, we got a lot
very
of people ask about Justin Detman in the chat, but no, he hasn't been drafted yet.
Justin Detman I'm really excited for him, man. I really hope that he gets picked.
No Jody yet either. No Jody Meeks. No Tony Roden yet. So maybe the combo. I think in 2019, I remember the combine didn't hurt people so bad. It didn't really matter if you went. And I don't know if Alexander went or not, but looking at some of the picks so far, it looks like most of them have attended the combine or were on a team last year. So.
Oh, you know what? Someone just mentioned this in the comments, is that Joe Alexander played for Nancy Lieberman in the G League, which is true.
No way.
Because Nancy was
Wow.
the coach of the Texas Legends. And that year, Joe Alexander was on the team. She coached the Legends for 2 years.
Good call out.
Excellent call out.
Tony
There we go.
Roden.
There's our guy.
There's Roden.
There we go.
And
To Tri-State. There we go.
I'm actually talking to Tony right now. Let's go.
How's he feeling?
Well, I don't think he knows yet. Maybe he's just got the call. He was asking me about the first round still. So Tony Roden goes. I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it wouldn't have made sense if he didn't go. I mean, he can play both ends of the floor, super athletic. Recently just saw him playing in the TBT, but a guy I think that if he wasn't playing during the Sixers' bad years, like he's a guy I think he would still be in the NBA and probably should still be in the NBA.
Yeah, he got hurt during his last run with the Sixers, but I know there was the dog years, but he was like a 16 points per game player.
Yeah, he was solid. I mean, you talk about he was on some pretty bad Sixers teams, and he was the only guy getting bucket for them.
He
And
was,
sometimes that's like even harder because you know who they're getting the ball to, and he was still getting buckets. So I'm super excited for this guy.
Plus getting like 6 rebounds and 4 assists. I mean, he actually kind of filled the stat sheet for Brett Brown that year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, getting assists on that Sixers team probably was pretty difficult.
Right.
The assist does mean they have to make it.
Right.
So
4 assists on that Sixers team that won like 10 games is 8 assists on any other team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the Sixers slander. Just keep this going.
So Tony Roden's actually cousins with Nate Robinson for anyone who didn't know that connection yet. And makes sense. I think that connections go a long way in the Big Three. And what better connection to have than family?
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
will
a
say
good
this.
team right there. That's a good team right there.
That is a very good team. And I will say this, props to Tony. I talked to Tony, like I said, has been very reaching out. Like he was probably one of the only players well, there's been a few, so I don't want to shortchange those too much. But one of like the few guys to reach out to us, it was like I really like appreciate and love the stuff you guys are doing. So immediately I'm like, I'm this guy's biggest fan now. But I was like, where do you think you're going to Tri-State? And he was like, that's not a done deal. He was like, to be 100% honest with you, he was like, if Nate picks me, I'll be 100% happy. He goes, but I don't want people to get the idea that I need my cousin to pick me. He goes, I want to get picked because the team wants me. And I think it ended up, I think he's in a great situation with Tri-State. And I think even more the better that his cousin was there. But, I think Tony Roten was a great selection regardless of family ties.
And defense goes a long way. Like I mentioned, if you go back and watch some of those old Sixers games, he is jumping in passing lanes. He's blocking shots. He's extremely quick. And the big three, when defense is so much harder, it's going to be so vital for guys to have good defenders. I think Tony Roten's going to be one of the better on-ball defenders in this league. And to be honest, maybe one of the better off-ball defenders as well. I mean, like I said, he's just in a lot of passing lanes, it seems like, all the time, and just one of the better on the ball. Bivouac is going to have the next pick here. I wouldn't be surprised if CJ Leslie goes back to his old team. He looked pretty good for Bivouac last year. And they already went with Alonzo G, so they got a little bit of a scorer and a guy you can play on the other side of the ball as well. So let's see where they go here. Oh.
Let's go.
Wow. Julian Wright.
Let's go.
So Julian Wright returns to the big three, just not with power. It's going to be with Bivouac. So that versatility coming into play again. He was really good on power last year, I felt like, Will. I felt like he was always making
fantastic.
The plays that nobody else was really like doing. Just doing like the dirty work, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Trying to phrase that in a more clever way, but went a little cliche there. So Julian Wright goes to Bivouac at number 3. Another guy who was a former lottery pick, former top 10 pick.
Yeah. Kansas guy, super athletic. He's have you guys seen his missed dunk in college?
No.
No?
Yes.
Oh, he was you seen that?
I've seen it.
Yeah, he's on a fast break and he goes for a windmill, and it was like one of like the epic fail dunk of the year. You should go YouTube it after this is over.
Definitely.
You gotta check it out. It's terrible.
He just got drafted. He just got drafted, but let's go watch all his flaws.
No, you know what? It shouldn't be the first thing I talk about after you get drafted, but that is unfortunately the first thing that comes to mind.
Fair enough. Hey, sometimes it'd be like that.
Julian Wright and I are really good friends on LinkedIn. We always like each other's stuff and like comment and stuff, so it's fantastic.
He mentioned when I felt like he came on years ago at this point because it was like right after the 2019 season. But he mentioned he's a big LinkedIn guy. That's his preferred, that's his like go-to social media.
Wow.
LinkedIn. He's a big business guy. He started like his own company and he's been in Taiwan forever.
Apparently an amazing facility down in North Carolina for like pros and like stuff that want to go down there and even like training kids too. Like I've seen videos of it. Yeah, he has like some like video wall where like it tells you like where to pass the basketball and you get like points and stuff. It's like something like I've never seen before. It's a beautiful facility. Yeah.
And I was going to mention too, Julian's another guy who didn't think he was going to get, or he was just unsure if he was going to get picked. Like he was just telling me that he was going to try to stick around till August just in case there were kind of injuries or he needed to fill in somewhere because he wanted to play in the league before he went back to, I believe it's Taiwan, but I'm trying to look here.
I think he was in Taiwan, yeah.
Okay. So he was going to stick around before he went back for the preseason in Taiwan, but happy to see him go to Bivouac. That's a great pick for them.
Well, was that pick 13?
That was pick 13. So we got 7 picks left. 7 more players are going to get drafted.
This round's going a little bit faster. I do like it. Not going to lie.
Is it going faster? I feel like it's going slower.
You think so?
And that's just me, but maybe it's because I'm sitting in a metal chair. Just been sitting in it for too long at this point.
I'm so happy for Julian Wright, man. One of the nicest guys in this league. I wasn't sure if he was going to get picked, I'll be honest, but I'm super happy for him.
Will, I got to ask you, how are your Twitter fingers feeling? How does it feel to be tweeting out news by the minute, getting all these posts out again? I feel like it's been a while for you. Oh,
I think, whoa, wow, yo, shout out Tommy, man. Tommy's been on top of it. Let me tell you.
Three's Company, yeah. Shout out to Tommy. And
Wow,
Three's Company
Ryan Hollins.
picked up Ryan Hollins.
Oh, wow.
So Ryan Hollins is third different team in the last 3 years of the Big Three. Killer Threes, Aliens, and now Three's Company. I mean, I feel like most of the people nowadays look at him as like the media analyst that's always making some hot takes here, but he's been doing his thing in the Big Three, and clearly people are noticing. And DeMar, don't question DeMar. He's one of the best player captains when it comes to being the GM. So,
well, you know, it's funny. I wanted to bring this up. You know, DeMar has a track record of picking MVP candidates in the first round. And with Jeremy Pargo, a full season of Jeremy Pargo, I don't think that's going to stop this season.
we didn't get to see a lot of Pargo last year, or in 2019. So I'm excited to see we get a full season of this year and just see what he does.
Are you talking to Julian Wright on Instagram?
I did, yes.
What is his Instagram? Why can't I find him?
It's a
I changed it. He changed it. It's Juju versus Midi.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, he changed it. All right, nice.
Yeah, he's been doing like DJ stuff. I've been seeing him post.
That's sick, dude. He
Or
is like all over the place. like, in a
Karaoke
good
stuff
way.
or something.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about in the Big Three or in the Triller live stream, they're talking about Mamadou and Jaye. The 7'6", they keep being like the 7'6" dude.
The 7'6" dude. The
He
way
just
this
said
draft is going, man, I
nameless.
don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
Mamadou at the very least can just be a wall. You know what I mean? There is no way you're going to get a shot. And the thing about Mamadou, I saw him for 2 years because he played in TBT. And so I got to see him live quite a bit. And I'll tell you, he does have a fair share of flaws. You know, offensively, he's super raw. He's not going to take a shot outside of like 3 or 4 feet. And then he's certainly slow in the pick and roll, but it is half court. You know what I mean? And something about him playing half court ball at 7'6", just sticking his hands up. There's no way that any of these centers are going to get that shot off in his face.
Well, he did dunk on Isaiah Austin at the combine, so
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
that's one
I
of his
believe
better
that. I mean,
highlights.
Isaiah Austin at 7'1" is still, 5-6 inches shorter than he is.
See who Trilogy goes with here.
Trilogy got someone stack is
Isaiah Briscoe.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Good pick. Good pick, Jack.
Stack's excited.
Yeah, he's like hyped about it. You can tell he must have was hoping he would fall.
I mean, Briscoe's probably only one of maybe like 10 guys that could play a full court 48-minute game now out of all these Big Three guys.
Briscoe, what I really liked about him is I feel like he obviously a great scorer, a guy that attacks him a lot, but I really like his vision. I think he was a great passer. He set his teammates a lot.
He is. Yeah, he is.
He was kind of like a Tony Rhodes situation when he was playing in Orlando. It was like if he got 4 assists for a bad Magic team, it should count as 8.
Right. Right. And, very similar games in terms of, Isaiah's a little bit more aggressive defensively, but both are more attackers. Both have throughout their careers, maybe it's the jump shot that's kind of hindered them and what stopped them from kind of taking the game to the next level.
You got to touch on this real quick. I'm talking about Isaiah Briscoe still, but no David Hawkins still.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I hope Dante Green was letting on that he knew something when he said that, but I don't know, man. I mean, he had a deal with the team. I could have swore it would have been Three's company, but
well, what about maybe Ghost Ballers? I mean, they go with Craig Smith. They promoted from within internally. They didn't grab anybody outside the Big Three. I mean,
yeah, I'm
Jordan
still talking with Mike now. They're still kind of going through different options. It's tough for them because they're at the point now where they just have to sit and wait and see who falls. So,
Jordan, listen, Jordan, you're the only man that can influence any of these picks. Pick Hawk, man. We need Hawk.
We are talking and trying to figure out, some options. I know they are. Actually, I don't want to say this over live. But
yeah,
that's fine. You don't have to say
they
it.
do have a specific role in mind that they want to go after.
Okay.
So, that makes their list a little bit smaller. But again, they kind of just have to sit and wait and see how the draft falls.
Well,
So
I tell you what, I look at that Ghost Ballers team, and we talk about that 7'6" dude. That's a role that they could probably need. They've had Carlos Boozer in the past. And, you look at this team, Chris Johnson, obviously that's a big, but if you want to look for someone that's just going to be a wall in the paint, someone like that would, and, there's other guys too, like a Patrick O'Bryant that comes to mind. And, a couple others, but that would be, in my opinion, I don't know what they're actually saying, but in my opinion, that would be the role that I'm looking for if I'm them.
Yeah. I just hope whoever they pick comes in with a huge chip on the shoulder and just proves everyone wrong.
5 picks left right now. It's getting down to the wire here. We've got 15 picks in. Still so many names on the board. Jordan Hill, Jody Meeks, Justin Dentman, David Hawkins, just to name a few. I mean, I'm just looking. Jason Maxiell is a guy who's played in the Big 3 for a long time. Got CJ Leslie, Andre Owens, if he's really in this draft pool or not. I'm still a little confused about that situation. But Von Wafer, Kareem Rush, Alex Scales. I mean, there's a ton of names. Corey Jefferson's still a guy out there. I don't know. And Jaye. Everyone, Mo Charlo, our guy Mo.
Yeah, we got to see Mo. The Jordan Hill is the most, to me, is the most surprising, just because you both had him listed at number 1, and I could have thought if not number 1, he's definitely going to be top 5 somewhere. So the fact that we're almost midway through the second round and still no Jordan Hill is kind of surprising.
Well, I want to mention this. I did hear that Nick Young and Bobby Brown are really close. Really
they are, yeah, both LA guys.
Yeah, so Enemies is picking next. Could see Bobby Brown go here. Another guy we haven't seen go. Bone Collector. Thank you for reminding us, Chris O'Connor.
Yeah.
That's a guy that it seems like fans seem to be really excited about him. I don't know how he did at the Combine. He looked impressive in a couple of highlights, but obviously that's the point of highlights. So,
yeah, he just plays a whole different type of basketball, so it may be tough to translate into the Big 3, and I think that's why, some people may be a little timid to pick him.
And a lot of guys are getting, a lot of teams are getting younger, and Bone Collector's a little bit of an older guy. He's at 40, so.
We got our pick in for the Enemies.
Here we go, man.
Enemies, Aliens, Three-Headed Monsters.
I'm trying to read this. Oh,
Jordan
there
Hill.
it is. Nice.
So Jordan Hill doesn't
so
go
good
1, but he goes to Enemies. Interesting how that worked out, because originally when Gil offered Nick Young the play this highlight.
We thought this was going to be playing after the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be an early one, but at least it's being used. Jordan Hill's nice. He's been out of the league for a little while. And I'm assuming that Jordan had to leave. I know that he had to get off a little bit earlier. I hate that we didn't get a chance to have him in here for Ghost Baller's last pick, but nonetheless. But, yeah, Jordan Hill, interesting dynamic, because when Gil offered Swaggy P the team and he was thinking of co-captains, first guy he mentioned out of his mouth was Jordan Hill. And then we saw he wasn't a co-captain. We're like, all right, got to be the number 1 pick. Not the number 1 pick. I don't know if the Combine maybe shook some people up, but it looked like maybe Nick Young knew something. He's like, we got to get Isaiah early because we don't think that Jordan Hill is going to be taken. So
I actually think that was kind of smart of Nick Young. Tell you the truth, looking back, I like Jordan Hill a lot. I would take Isaiah Austin over Jordan Hill,
I would
too. Him snagging him in the second round. I mean, he basically gets a steal in the second, and he's got the 2 best big men in the Big 3, quite possibly.
I like it.
Jordan Hill was a heck of a player. 8th pick. He was in that Steph Curry draft. He was 1 pick before Steph, I think. And so, and then when he was with the Lakers, he was like a 10-7 guy every night. I know they weren't winning, but 10-7 at the NBA level, regardless of the team, is impressive.
So 2 things. Jordan Hill's on the live stream right there. And then also 2, Ryan Hollins is in the live chat saying, let's go. So
he's in our live chat? Or
not in our live chat. He's in the Triller live chat.
He is.
If he is in our live chat, you would know.
That's hilarious, bro. Someone, C. White, says, why does Triplets have 6 guys, but everyone else has 5? That's a great question. And I wonder if that's Kobe White.
Kobe White. Kobe White. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I mean, they're not in our chat, obviously, but for anybody watching, I think triplets just ideally, or like originally how it was supposed to go, is that when you win it all, you bring your whole team back. I think even though they reduce the roster size, they'll just have a priority reserve with one of those guys. So they'll probably have to make a couple guys inactive weekly, or I'm not sure how that works out. But
I don't know. I mean, I guess they just figured whatever it is was going to be an easier solution than just telling one of them and somebody who won the championship year just basically just take a hike.
yeah, exactly. They were probably hoping that somebody wasn't going to play again, but Jordan,
Yeah,
Hill,
right.
so they
Can you
got-
imagine? Like,
At least-
sure you guys want to still play?
Will, it's funny because we see enemies get two bigs here, and that's been a strategy that a lot of teams have kind of taken up in past years. We saw Power win it all with the two bigs being one of their go-to lineups, and now enemies has the same. And Aliens is picking. I picked Kareem Rush here because he's the brother of Brandon Rush, so I don't know if there's another family connection here. Maybe not. We shall see. Oh, and there goes Andre Owens. So he's back
What?
with Aliens.
Wow.
Yo, shout out this guy. Shout out Sean Ireland, who called it like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, he really did. Shout out
Oh
to you,
my
Sean.
God.
We didn't think that was going to be possible because
What?
he got released as captain, or he wasn't the captain anymore. And then he goes back into the draft pool, and I mean, first off, it's the first time Andre Owens has ever been picked in the second round, and even more specifically, ever been picked outside of the top 2 in a Big 3 draft, going at 17. So a very, very big value here, I feel like, to get somebody of Andre Owens' caliber. But I don't know what situation went down, but I guess it wasn't too bad.
It
Where he
wasn't that bad.
didn't have too much beef with Aliens.
Are you able to catch what Rick's saying right now?
He wants to, he's one of the founding players in this league, and Blake Stack and other guys that are still playing. This is a guy that just really wants to.
One of the founding players.
I'm excited about having him back and making sure that you get this team to the next level.
Hey, Coach, Michael Cooper, your old, you guys used to battle together back in the day. He actually just looked at me and said, you had 2 chips on your shoulder back when you played.
I mean, this is so weird to me. I'm sorry. This is very weird to me.
No reason to be sorry. I think I agree. It's interesting. So they got their point guard that they were talking about. It's just a guy they already had. I guess they wanted to somehow have all 4, and maybe they thought, Andre, you might have to be the sacrificial lamb here to go back in the draft pool.
I mean, they really gambled. They're like, Andre Owens would be less attractive than Greg Oden.
I mean, Oden, we just saw the big man run again, and then Oden went 7 last year after a great season. I don't know. That would have been hard to not take him. So we got 3 picks left. 3-headed monsters, ball hawks, ghost ballers. Jeff, is there anybody that you like that's still in the pool? Oh, before 3-headed monsters picks here?
Oh, let's see. Denman. Still haven't seen Denman.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Denman got picked. Oh, I almost jumped out of my seat.
I think they just picked
there
Njae.
he is.
There's
Njae.
Mamadou.
There's Mamadou.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Did
I
you
think
get
I
that right?
called this. I think I got that right.
I think you did. And
Tommy, I love you,
Tommy,
brother.
that
That is not the name. I love you, but that is not the name.
Wow. I think that's how you spell it. I don't know. Wow. And Njae does get picked. Well, I saw on Slam social media that he was just playing another 3-on-3 league.
Yeah, he was playing for USA.
Wow.
Wait, USA basketball?
There you go.
Like the 3-on-3 league or something.
Oh,
I'm not too sure what it was, but. Oh,
Thomas, you want to hop in here, bro?
I think he could thrive in this.
I think he could too, just being, like you said, that wall. And
Yeah, I mean, like, it was so crazy watching. Okay, when he was in TBT, he was on the same team as Earl Boykins. Right? Remember 5'5" Earl Boykins? And it was crazy to watch them go at each other, but or play with each other, I meant to say. But he would just literally wouldn't even jump. No need to jump. No need to foul. Stick your hand straight up, and there's so few players that can get that shot off above him.
I mean, this is a.
wow.
I'm really excited because now you have Reggie Evans and Mamadou coming after each other. That's insane, dude. This team, you're not going to be able to get a rebound from this team.
David Hawkins next pick, calling it.
You know something? I hope Hawk doesn't go to Ball Hogs.
There's only 2 picks left.
Yeah, I guess my options are limited at this point. Man, I hope Jordan does the right thing, even though I know Jordan has nothing to do with it.
Why are you? You're like acting like Jordan's gonna be the guy to make it, like gonna pick Ghost Baller's next pick here.
I know,
Yep.
I know it's not, but
What if he really does and we just don't know?
he definitely has much more of an input than he'd like to let on.
Jody Meeks, you picked him at 4, Will. He's available here at their second pick.
Yeah,
in the
we
second
need
round.
Jody.
Denman's still available. New Williams still available.
Yeah. You know, just curious, guys. How did Deshaun Stevenson play when he was in the Big 3?
I thought
Very
he
good.
played
Very
pretty
good?
well. Yeah.
I always liked with the Wizards.
I had Deshaun Stevenson going where Jordan Hill went. I thought he was going to reunite with Swaggy P from the Wizards. I thought he was going to grab a Lakers guy, grab a Wizards guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ball Hogs have something. All right. Who is it? I see the
There's
pick.
Jody.
Oh, there we go.
So he did get a ball.
Nice. There you go.
Nice. There we
They
go.
got-
Nice.
They got all experience on their team. They went all vets.
He's too good of a shooter not to get drafted.
Right. I mean, he's coming 2 years off winning it all with the Raptors.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
okay. Well, we're about to have the last pick here.
We got to get Dentman in this last
The
pick.
Big 3
Yeah.
draft.
There's
No
going to be
David
some guys.
Hawkins still.
No Hawkins, no Corsley Edwards, no Alex Scales. There's no Jimmy Jenkins, no Bone Collector.
Bone
Man, this last
Collector,
pick,
that's
this
another
last
one I would
pick's
love to
gonna
see.
break my heart, man.
Dude, no Mo Charlo.
No Mo
No
Charlo.
Romeo Travis.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about Romeo. Tommy, who have you liked in this draft? Who do you think's had the best draft?
The best draft, honestly, probably the enemies. To be honest with you,
Okay.
I think they got Jordan Hill. Everybody said they were going to take one, and then they also got Isaiah Austin, who's like the young, like probably should be in the NBA. So I think that's pretty crazy. Plus you have Swaggy P. Plus you have Gilbert Arenas. That's pretty crazy if you ask me.
I feel it's going to be really interesting to see because I feel like we have a big new draft, sometimes before the draft, sometimes after the draft, but there always seems to be like some roster moves afterwards.
Yeah, I bet everybody, year 1, Will, where everybody got like a reserve, like a
Yeah.
priority reserve. I could definitely see that happening here as well. There's just too much talent left on the board to not have like any backup or have like a selected backup.
I agree with you 100%. This last pick, I already know. Scal's just sitting here tantalizing us with it. Man, it's going to break my heart.
Let's go to pick Jody. So,
Oh, right. So who is it? Sorry, it's Ghost Ballers.
This Jody pick might be the steal of the draft, I feel like. I mean, to get him with the second to last pick, a guy that's 2 years removed from winning an NBA championship, didn't really play that much for the Raptors that year, but on the team nonetheless, like he's probably the best shooter in this draft, and I would say by far.
I just got a message from Jordan. He said nobody's going to expect this last pick. He said out of left field, he said. So Ghost Ballers have made their selection. The pick is in.
Come on, baby. Mo Charlo.
What is this going to be? I'm putting down the phone for this. I'm a few picks behind. I'm putting down the phone.
Clyde, is this it? This is it?
Yeah, put on the volume. There we go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You sure you might have died for yourself? Here we go. Even Cube got on the suit. And with the final pick of the Big 3 Super Draft of 2021, the Ghost Ballers select Cheyenne Gadsden.
Shane Jackson. Ooh, that's Shane Jackson. New York legend right there.
Cheyenne Gadsden.
Big guard that likes to distribute.
Well, that is definitely out of left field.
That was unexpected.
I talked about Iceman
How does
The
David Hawkins
commentators
not
don't
get
even know what to
picked,
say
man?
about him.
How does David Hawkins not get picked?
Yeah, here he is.
I am
That
shocked.
makes no sense.
About the pick. There you were sitting there.
Wow.
The second round.
Swaggy P and Catino on their phone. On their phone. They're trying to look up who he is. They're trying to Google him.
Like, is this something I should be worried about?
Yeah.
Oh my God. What the fuck? Pardon my language.
I am absolutely.
I'm flabbergasted. No disrespect to this kid who they just picked, by the way. I don't know anything about this kid. He could come in and be an MVP level talent, but no Hawkins. What?
Cheyenne Getz. I'm looking for his name in the pool. Like, just not familiar with him. Like, no, like, apologized. Not saying that he's probably in the stream. He's probably more focused on what's going on right now. But
Yes. Well, I know a little bit about him. Not that much though, because it was before the days that I followed the G League. But he was like a long-time G League guy. He probably put like 6 or 7 years in the G League. But that was before I really started following. He was like in the early days, starting like in 2003 or something like that.
Like the D League, like back
The
when,
D- like
like,
the-
you know,
the
yeah,
NBDL.
yeah, the NBDL, yeah, back with like the what was it, like the Reno Chargers or
The
whatever.
big horns. Yeah.
That was back when it was a Wild West.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still playing, to tell you the truth. I mean, that was like 2003 that he first started or something like that.
How old
Cheyenne
must that man be?
Getz. I'm trying to look. He's a basketball player, 1980. So he's 40.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Shows him a picture in a Warriors jersey. All right. Let's collect our thoughts real quickly here as we give some immediate reactions here. Wow. So they went with all – Ghost Ballers kind of did the same thing. They went with all experience as well. I am just –
I cannot believe this.
I'm very floored. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this. I'm shocked by that. Cube's talking right now. No Deshaun Stevenson either. Yeah, that's pretty surprising. I don't know how invested, or I don't know if Deshaun Stevenson was necessarily coming back. Maybe they just threw his name in the pool, but I got to imagine that they wouldn't just drop him as a co-captain for a guy who's been in the league for 3 years. But wow, what a night. Nonetheless, a draft did happen.
Yeah,
A draft did happen.
Something we can't say that's happened last year. So a draft went down. I guess like immediate reactions. Jeff, I want to start with you because I know that there's a lot of guys that you were a little bit more familiar with, maybe more so than us.
You know, I would say this, like in the big three, like we talked about before, it's super unpredictable. You know, I would say that none of the picks really surprised me. I mean, Cheyenne's surprised because I wasn't even familiar that he even played basketball anymore, right? Like I told you, he started playing in like, you know, probably like 2002 when he first started playing in the G League, and he played for multiple seasons. It was probably like 6-7 seasons or so. But you know, it's a name that I haven't heard in so long. So when they called his name, I was like, is that the same guy that played in the G League starting when it was the NBDL and like, you know, 15, 16 years ago?
Wow.
But other than that, to tell you the truth, like, you know, everybody that got drafted, I can see where they fit and I can see what value they bring. You know what I mean? I mean, we're even talking about, you know, Jody going second to last, probably being the best shooter. Isaiah Austin being an NBA player, an NBA caliber player, even probably still. I mean, he averaged, you know, like 22 and 13. And I think he was in the Dominican Republic this year or like Puerto Rico or something like that. But, you know, he was still putting up double numbers. He probably would be in the league if it wasn't for, you know, was it Marfan syndrome? I think it was.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so, yeah, I can see how every player got drafted. There are a few names like we had talked about that I am surprised didn't get called, and Justin Detman being number one, just because, you know, watching him in TBT last year, light up the court for like 23 points per game. In 2018, he averaged 26 points a game in the G League. You know, he's a guy that just announced his retirement, but can still play and score at a ridiculously high level. And then, you know, there was a couple other guys that we had mentioned before. And like I said, I don't know what type of shape they're in, but there were names that that I've loved to see getting picked. Like, I would have been interested to see like Tyrus Thomas get picked. You know what I mean? Corey Jefferson is another one who still young, still kind of like in his prime. Was a 17-10 guy in the G League. You know, I'm surprised that he didn't get drafted. And then if there's some other names that I'm surprised, but of course David Hawkins, no Deshaun Stevenson, no Orenzio Onuaku, who was with
he was a beast at the combine.
His 1 year, played with Dante his 1 year at Syracuse. I mean, he is just a bully. He's probably, if you want to compare his game, very similar to Craig Smith. You know, very similar body type, not the tallest, but I mean, just absolutely rugged around the edges, and is going to fight and claw down in the paint. And then there was a couple of guys that we didn't talk about too much that I would love to see and get drafted. Like, you know, Jason Maxiell was one of them. Kareem Rush was definitely one of them that I would like to see get drafted. But overall, I would say that, you know, I wasn't surprised with any of the picks except for the last pick. And then I was a little bit shocked with Mamadou getting drafted. I do see the value in having someone at 7'6", but he's so slow. There were times where I was like, you know, this is definitely holding him back from playing at a higher level when I watched him play in TBT. But at the same time, it is a half-court style of ball. And so they might find a way for him to mask his kind of flaws in his game in that sense.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Jeff. You know, do you think that having a guy like Mamadou half court, you know, and then even pairing him with guys like Richard and, you know, the wing defenders that they already have on Three-Headed Monsters, do you think that maybe they could just like funnel all the defenders right into him? And then, you know, then we're talking about maybe like, you know, just a brick wall that you have to go up against.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the thing that's interesting about Mamadou is that when he raises up, there is no one in basketball that can block his shot. His problem is not getting a shot off. It's the accuracy in which he shoots it with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it's not, when I watched him in TBT, now granted, this was 2017, 2018, but when I watched him, like, he had no problem getting a shot off, but his accuracy wasn't there. His feel of the game, it just looked a little bit awkward. But then again, as I was saying, if any center got the ball in the post, he would just stick his hand straight up, and he never fouled, never needed to jump, you know, to tell you the truth. And so I can see, you know, especially on offense, if he's gotten better offensively, you know, in the last 3 or 4 years or so, I can definitely see the fact that they'll need to send a second defender at him just to like keep him out of the paint. When he crashes the rebounds and he goes straight up, you know, you're going to need more than one guy on him, right? So maybe that allows him to kick out the ball to other shooters and stuff like that, have open looks. And was he at the combine?
He was.
He was. Yeah. So maybe they saw something in him that I haven't seen. But like I said, I didn't see him. Last time I saw him was 4 years ago. So, you know, there's a chance that a lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
Well, the other concern for me with Mamadou is, you know, is something that Dante brought up, is that when they're guys that can't move well laterally, they're going to attack him in the pick and roll constantly. Yeah. And I know that he's going to be a guy that's going to be hard to shoot over. Obviously, he can probably protect the 3-point line from the paint. But that being said, that's going to be an interesting, you know, how they kind of mask that, as you said. But, you know, nonetheless, it's an intriguing pick because of his size in a 3-on-3 setting. That brick wall are going to block a lot of shots, going to create a lot of problems for guys driving to the hole, which a lot of guys like to do, which might mean more 4-point shots this year. But it's an interesting one. I think that was probably, if it wasn't Mamadou, I think the other interesting picks probably, I would say like team-wise at least, the other two interesting teams that I think either got really good or we're just hyping it up a little bit have to be Power and Tri-State. I really like Power's additions of Balut and Alexander. And then I also like Tri-State's of Earl Clark and Tony Roten.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, to tell you the truth, one other pick that I was surprised was Joe Alexander, because I hadn't heard
him for
so long. And I wasn't familiar. Did I see, was his name on the pool, on the list of pool names?
See, that's what I was – see, I didn't see Gadsden's either, but it was on there. So
okay.
Maybe Joe's was on there, and continue your thought, but I will definitely look that up just to make sure. Maybe some guys were left off the draft pool graphic.
I mean, I remember being super young and watching Joe Alexander at West Virginia, and at the time he was one of the better players in college basketball. He was just super poised, play with an unbelievable pace, could hit the three. Like I said before, a crazy athlete that he never really got that much credit for. When he was with the Santa Cruz Warriors a few years ago, back in like 2014, threw down some unbelievable dunks that didn't get much attention because, you know, the G League didn't get much attention back then. But, you know, a really good all-around player, really solid rebounder. And I think it's a good pick. You know, the thing is, like, it's been 6 or 7 years since I last seen him play, right? And so what does he have to offer now? Like, how good a shape is he in? But I'm sure if Nancy Lieberman's drafting him, he's in tip-top shape and he's ready to go.
Yeah, I don't know if I see his name on here. I am thinking about a couple other names that we didn't see go. Robert Height, KJ McDaniels is another one.
Yeah, KJ.
Bobby Brown, thought he would go.
Yeah, I thought he'd go too.
He didn't go either. So, I mean,
you know, the thing about Bobby is that I was actually a little bit less optimistic about Bobby getting drafted. I watched him a ton with the Ignite this year, and then, of course, he's played in TBT in the past. But Bobby, you know, he's getting up there in age a little bit. He's kind of become really just strictly a three-point shooter, you know? Like, I think at this point he's not quick enough to really drive the lane. And when you drive the lane, you're not quick enough to get in the paint and distribute and kick out the open defenders. That's the problem. I'm sorry, open three-point shooters. That's a problem as a point guard. And so he settles. And one thing about Bobby is that he loves the long ball. I'm talking about like the 4-point play type of shot. You know what I mean? But he's almost like at this point in his career kind of just been relegated to that shot. You know, he doesn't really offer as much like, you know, well-roundedness as maybe some of these other guards. And so I actually didn't have Bobby on my list of players I thought would get drafted.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair
enough.
Who do we think, and I don't really think there was a bad draft necessarily, but we've mentioned a couple intriguing names. Who do we feel like had the worst draft? Because that was one of the questions here. That's a tough one.
Ooh, that is a tough one, man.
I'm looking at some of the teams, and it just doesn't look like anybody really, like, I don't look at any team and be like, wow, they had a bad draft. Like, I feel like every team got really, like, a lot better after this draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, especially too when like they didn't have players to begin with. You know,
that's true.
I'm not in love with three-headed monsters draft, if I'm being honest.
For some of the reasons that we've already pointed out with Mamadou.
Yeah, Power, I got to be honest with you. Power, I trust, but I'm just not too sure, man. I mean, you select Dusan. I love Dusan. I never thought he'd go that high in my life just because, like you said, the uncertainty. And then with this pick with Joe Alexander, it seems like a pick of someone that that they knew. So that has its advantages as well as its disadvantages because I just feel like there was much more proven Big 3 talent on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if Nancy, and granted, if he was at the, Big 3 combine, they can speak better than I can, but I wonder if she's looking at, Joe was great for me with the Texas Legends, but if you really think about it, that was 2010, 2011. You know what I mean? And so we're talking about a decade ago. And so, it's crazy to think about. I'm sure he still has a lot of game. I'm sure he still has a lot to offer. I would say, back to what you were saying about the three-headed monsters. Mamadou was certainly an interesting pick, but I know his name he's not a big name, but Kevin Murphy is really a bona fide scorer, and like
you're really high on this guy, which I do respect because he is from your world.
Right. And I mean, it was probably 2016-17 that he was still averaging 23 points per game, and I know he's been playing overseas since then. But there was a good, like I said, a 3-year period where he was, arguably a top 10 scorer, just pure score in the G League, and he never got a call up, unfortunately. Sometimes a lot of these guys who are really ball dominant and take a bunch of shots, they don't necessarily do that well in the NBA. In the NBA is kind of looking for role players in a lot of sense, but a really good scorer and a guy who can just fill it up, and he's really streaky. And so I was actually high on his pick. I don't know how he'll fit in with the other guys, but him individually, I'm actually high on.
Okay.
All right, here's going to be even a harder question for you guys as we could try to wrap this up here. Who do you feel like had the best draft? I look at these teams, and I look at a lot of teams that got a lot better. I mean, just a lot of good 1-2 punches in the first and second rounds, and it's really hard for me to pick just looking at it. So who do you guys feel like had the best draft?
That's a good question. Just straight off the top of my head, I feel like the enemies got two great picks. I mean, of course, you can't go wrong with Isaiah Austin, but them getting Jordan Hill in the second round, a guy that you guys had listed at number 1, and then I didn't know if Jordan Hill would go number 1 specifically, but I was like, oh, he's definitely a top 5 type of guy.
Yeah.
And just the fact that they got him and Isaiah. I mean, Isaiah is as talented as any big in the Big 3 right now. And then Jordan Hill, I mean, if I'm just basing it on his Lakers days, which was not that long ago, he was a 10-7 player in the league, just a few years ago. And then when they were showing him on the big screen when he was being interviewed, he still looked like he was in great shape, and so
He looks like he lost a little weight.
Maybe lost a little weight, which was good for at an advanced age a little bit if he's in his 30s or whatever. But yeah, he's a guy that I was actually pretty high on back then, and I'm still kind of high on now, depending on if he stayed in shape and if he still has kept up with his game and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a guy that he's not going to stretch out the floor like Isaiah will. Isaiah probably for his career has hovered around 40% from the 3-point line. But Jordan has a nice 15 to 18-foot jumper, you know what I mean? And he knocks that down with consistency, takes that really confidently. And so, yeah, I'm high that I think that they really got the 2 best big men in the draft.
Yeah.
About you, Will.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. I've been saying it from the beginning, but I love Bivouac's picks.
I was wondering if you were still high on them.
This was a team that you knew you had your stars in Mo Spates, Will Bynum, and Josh Smith. Those are your bona fide starters. If you compare them with the rest of the league, their captains are just as good as anybody else's. So the plan was to go in and just get talent that can surround them. So you get Alonzo Gee, who can play very good wing defense, like we said, and you get Julian Wright, who did a little bit of everything for power. So I think you get, I think it was an excellent pick. I think Will Bynum is going to end up being in the MVP conversation at the end of the day. And I think, is Bivouac my favorite to win it all? Well, now the teams are made. I don't know. I don't want to say it yet. I got to give time to digest it, but I'm really liking Bivouac.
Well, I'm going to tell you what Julian said real quick about his thoughts about being on Bivouac. He said, I'm loving the versatility many people can handle, shoot, and switch on defense. Can also rebound. Will definitely facilitate and be able to get his own shot. And he said, I can even play point if he needs a blow. So that's an exciting team there. For me, I feel very partial to Tri-State. Like anywhere Tony Roden is, I feel very partial because of all the love he's shown us. And I do like their squad a lot. But if I'm looking at the roster, it's like I kind of really like what Trilogy did. They went out and got Meta World Peace and experienced Big 3 player, a guy that Stack is very familiar with. They add to the versatility and the length that they have already with the squad that they have. And then they go out and get Isaiah Briscoe, who I really liked as well, a 25-year-old player. I mean, he's not that many years removed from the NBA. We've talked about him a lot on this show, a guy that attacks the rim, is very quick. I think he's going to have a lot of people on their heels. And I think he's got really good vision to set up open shots for guys. So I really like what Trilogy has done. I think there's a good chance I look at their team and I'm like, man, are they a team that competes for the playoffs again or gets back to that playoff realm like they did in year one?
Anthony, I'm glad you mentioned Trilogy. In my opinion, they got, if Meta is still the defender that he's shown in the Big 3 in the last few years, and then in his later years in the NBA, they probably got the 2 of the better defenders in the draft, but also 2 of the worst shooters in the draft. And you know what I'm saying? And so, because I love Isaiah Briscoe, I think that he's such a well-rounded player, competes so hard on both ends of the floor, can be a primary ball handler. But at the same time, I mean, Isaiah, the one thing separating him from a rotational guard in the NBA is probably his shot. You could probably say the same thing about Tony Roten. He was putting up really good numbers, could attack the paint, super fast, but he was probably in the low 30s and maybe the 20s from the 3, and I would say Briscoe probably falls around the same range. And then, so I'm really curious to see how that works out. 2 great defenders, but 2 guys who really struggle to space the floor. Because even Meta, he'll take the threes, but he's so streaky with it. There's some days where he can be super off, and then there's some days where we can hit the shot with decent consistency. I think they really got 2 guys who, studs on the defensive end. Offensively, they could have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I was going to say that one last thing about Meta. I felt like one thing that I did notice last time he was in the Big 3 is he was Actually, a very underrated scorer. I think he showed a lot of scoring mentality or ability when he was playing with Killer 3. So should be an interesting year. The picks are in. We'll obviously have a lot of content coming your way, a lot of interviews coming your way, and recap on this draft. But we just want to say we appreciate everyone who tuned into the live stream. Appreciate everyone who was on the panel. Jeff, thank you. Thank you to Dante.
Thank you guys for having me, as always.
Yes, sir. Thank you to
Jeff,
Jordan
a pleasure,
as well.
my man.
Hey, always a pleasure. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. And listen, before we let it go, we got to give it back a little bit. You know, Jeff Keefe, for guys who aren't familiar, G League TV, the best G League account in the world. Incredible.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jordan Daly, Daily Media, Dante Greene, Killer 3s. Check them all out. They're all doing amazing stuff. So we appreciate everybody who stayed.
Hell yeah. Dante was in the gym. He had to leave to go get in the gym, get ready for the season. He felt
Yes,
a
sir.
little motivated. So we appreciate everybody. Continue to stick around. Now that you guys are subscribed, we'll have more content coming your way. So we appreciate everyone who tuned in, and we will see you guys real soon.